Chapter 797. The next day, early in the morning, Suyu ran out of the Demon Mountain and went straight to the Raging Flame cabinet. Along the way, everyone looked at Suyu, and their gazes were still the same as yesterday. They were filled with respect, fear, and respect. Suyu felt bitter in his heart. His reputation of being unparalleled had already spread throughout the faction, right? Wow, did you see that? That is the newly promoted 5th demon, Supreme Middle. Looks like he has completely gained the recognition of the 4 great fiendish demons and has become the new generation of fiendish demons. Quick, run. He's coming. Quickly hide, little junior sister, and your wife. If he can force himself on Bing Wuxin, which woman can't he do it with? Suyu's ears were extremely sharp, and when he heard this, he was so angry that he almost bled. His good mood vanished in an instant. With a black face, Suyu arrived at the Raging Flame cabinet. Xiao Qin swiped his card and entered. He turned around and saw the alluring cabinet master Shuelian, who had a faint smile on her face. "Oh, the Supreme Central Demon has come. It's my pavilion's honor to have you here." The alluring cabinet mistress laughed heartily. It was only today that she found out that Suyu had been conferred the title of Supreme Central Demon. Suyu rolled his eyes at her. "Cut the crap. Where are the materials?" The alluring cabinet mistress teased Suyu and brought him to the secret room at the end of the hall. She then said, "This is a secret room that was specially awarded to me by the Sanctum. You don't have to pay any merit points for it, and all of the materials are inside it. I have prepared 40 sets of them for you, just in case. You can refine them as you see fit." Suyu entered the secret room and quickly entered the elixir production state. With his previous success, it was a walk in the park for him to refine the primordial chaos true pill. 3rd grade true return pills were successfully refined in an orderly manner. The alluring cabinet mistress dispelled the elixir's fragrance from time to time, and a faint smile appeared on her charming face. In the evening, Suyu walked out of the Raging Flame cabinet, his whole body exhausted. Before he left, he gave her 20 elixirs. The alluring cabinet master revealed a joyful expression as she looked at the alluring elixir. "Little fellow, whether the cabinet master can get rich or not depends on you." As she spoke, she pretended to kiss Suyu's face again. Suyu hurriedly stepped aside and said with a bitter smile, "Cabinet master, do you have such a good impression of old people?" The cabinet master smiled coquettishly and sent Suyu off. After stretching his body, Suyu slowly walked toward the Demon Mountain. When he passed by the Heavenly Peak Tower, he subconsciously took a look at it and saw Shangguan having a discussion with several of his friends. They were the 3 fair-weather friends that he had promised to guarantee their loan. There was also a burly man at the table. He wore a rough, barbed necklace around his neck. His upper body was bare, and his gaze was fierce. One look, and anyone could tell that he was a fiendish person. Shangguan and the others were expressing their goodwill to him. Guaranteed loans? Suyu furrowed his brows slightly. He hoped that Shangguan would have some sense of propriety and wouldn't get himself into unnecessary trouble. When he returned to Demon Mountain, the 4 demons were cultivating in their residences. There was no sign of the liveliness from the gathering. Suyu sighed inwardly. The reason why the 4 of them were able to suppress the outer sanctum was not because of their strange temperament or talent, but because of their hard work. Even geniuses needed to work hard to achieve success. Mediocre people needed to work even harder. When Zhang Xian returned to his room, he discovered that Zixuan wasn't around. "I'll investigate the sect." She was still unwilling to give up, and she wanted to find out where Suyu was as soon as possible. Suyu smiled, closed his eyes, and prepared to enter a state of cultivation. However, at this moment, a ripple transmitted into his mind. The small Kylan? Suyu was quite curious, so his soul entered the 9-jade spiritual pearl. When he entered, the small Kylan pounced at him and rubbed itself against him affectionately. Ever since the Jinlong world-destroying battle, the small Kylan had been sleeping in the 9 jade spiritual pearl. I want to go out and play. The small Kylan placed its hooves on Su Yu's shoulder and spoke in a childish voice. Su Yu was startled, as this was the first time he had heard it speak a complete sentence since he had adopted it. When he observed it carefully, he discovered that the small Kylan's body had grown larger than before, and it felt heavier when he held it in his arms. Did it evolve? Su Yu was flabbergasted. He hadn't fed the small Kylan any precious treasures, and it seemed like it wasn't a picky eater. It just ate whatever was in front of it, and it had evolved naturally. You can speak? Su Yu asked curiously, while he spoke in the demon clan's language, which was difficult for ordinary people to understand. The small Kylan nodded. That's right. Master, I want to go out and play. Although it could speak, it didn't seem like its thoughts were clear. I'm now in a region filled with experts, and if you show yourself rashly, you might be seen through. I can only let you out at a special time, understand? Su Yu spoke in the demon clan's language. The small Kylan pouted and moved its body playfully. I want to go out. I want to go out. Su Yu was helpless, so he could only agree. Fine, but not now. There aren't any restrictions in my residence, so I will let you out tomorrow. It was only then that the small Kylan was satisfied. That night, a commotion arose in the outer sanctum, as an unknown outer sanctum disciple had unexpectedly taken out 23rd grade primordial chaos vital pills and was selling them wantonly at the price of 70 merit points. Well-informed people quickly rushed over. A wealthy disciple even bought 10 of them in one go and stored them away. The other 10 were bought by other people. Some people who came to know about it later rubbed their hands and stamped their feet. They didn't lack merit points, and they just lacked elixirs. At night, in a secret room, Ruffian Long held a primordial chaos vital pill in his hands, while the woman sitting cross-legged in front of him was the inner sanctum disciple, Xueqi. Xueqi closed her eyes and asked, "How is it? Did you manage to find any clues?" Ruffian Long smiled apologetically. "Senior sister, you must be joking. Although I have good eyesight, how could I dare to show off in front of you?" Xueqi opened her eyes and glared at him. "I asked you to speak, so just speak." Ruffian Long wore an embarrassed expression as he examined the elixir carefully. He then said in a grave voice, "I often buy and sell elixirs, so I don't know much about elixirs. However, I do know a thing or two about them. In my opinion, this elixir isn't produced by the elixir hall." "What else?" Xueqi asked calmly. Ruffian Long continued, "The elixir is perfectly round, and it doesn't just show that the alchemist is experienced and skilled in controlling the flames and fusing the elixir. It also shows that the alchemist's alchemy techniques are quite brilliant. Such a round elixir's fragrance is rich, and it doesn't have any flaws. This is surely the result of a high-grade alchemy technique." When Xueqi heard him, she nodded, then shook her head. "What you said is correct, but you didn't get to the main point." Ruffian Long bowed and said, "I would like to hear the details." As Xueqi took the elixir, her charming expression disappeared, and it was replaced by a grave one. This elixir's greatest characteristic is its ingredients. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that someone could purify an elixir to such a perfect degree. She then added, "Even an alchemy grandmaster would find it difficult to remove all of the ingredients' impurities. Even though it is possible in theory, it isn't practical, as many of the impurities have grown together with the ingredients, and it's impossible to remove them." She then added, "As far as I can tell, it doesn't seem like it was purified by someone, and it seems like it was done by an inhuman method." Ruffian Long was quite confused. Is there a magical treasure that can purify ingredients in this world? Xueqi shook her head in response. "This is something that I can't understand. There are countless divine weapons in the world, but I have never heard of a magical treasure that can purify ingredients. Even if there were, the principle behind it would be very difficult to understand. This is why I'm inclined to believe that it was done by an alchemy grandmaster who has reached the pinnacle of alchemy. It is rumored that some top-grade alchemy grandmasters can refine ninth-grade elixirs, which are also called limitless elixirs. Ruffian Long sucked in a breath of cold air. There is unexpectedly such an alchemy grandmaster behind this? Then what should we do? Should we get in touch with this alchemy grandmaster? Xueqi shook her head. Such a person isn't someone we can get in touch with. However, you can try to get in touch with the person who sold the elixirs and ask him to hand them over to us. Ruffian Long chuckled. This is simple. Although the seller went through many difficulties and handed over the elixirs to an unknown lad to sell, he still couldn't hide it from me in the outer sanctum. Xueqi raised her brows. Well, who is it? The Raging Flame Cabinet's cabinet master, Xuelian. Ruffian Long said, naturally, that's because the Raging Flame cabinet mistress doesn't feel like hiding her identity. Thus, the sect turns a blind eye to this matter. She also doesn't mind it. That's why she was able to find out about it so easily. Xueqi's expression changed slightly. How could it be her? After Xueqi muttered to herself for a long while, her gaze flickered as she said, since it's her, I must go there personally. Otherwise, all of you will surely be able to deal with this woman. Similarly, in another secret room, a tall and sturdy man, who wore a barbed necklace around his neck, was respectfully standing behind a level 8 fairy realm man. Brother Qingfeng, should we go and meet the elixir's owner? They had also gotten a primordial chaos vital pill. If Suyu was here, he would surely recognize the level 8 fairy realm man's back. This man was Xiao Qingfeng, who had attacked him twice. Xiao Qingfeng's eyes lit up as he held the elixir. Of course, primordial chaos vital pills are extremely rare, and if we can get the elixir's owner's permission, we will be able to monopolize them. We will get a great profit, and I believe that it will surely make the Inner Sanctum seniors happy. I will take care of it tomorrow. The next morning, Suyu went to the Raging Flame cabinet once again. The alluring cabinet master wore a faint smile as she brought him the 20 batches of ingredients. She also gave Suyu the 600 merit points she had earned the day before, after deducting her share and the cost. You didn't get a single point from the youth, did you? The alluring cabinet master was in a good mood. Suyu wore a faint smile as he asked, did you really sell them for just 60 merit points? The alluring cabinet master's face stiffened slightly, but her smile became more pronounced as she said, the market is always fluctuating, and some are high and some are low. I can't control them. Suyu had inquired about them, and he found out that the woman had sold all of them for 70 merit points. She would earn 10 merit points for every pill she sold, which meant that 20 of them would be 200 merit points. Moreover, if she added the 200 merit points that Suyu had given her, she would have earned 400 merit points in one day. It couldn't be denied that this woman had really profited greatly. Forget it, as long as you can guarantee that the lowest price is 60 merit points. As for the rest, it doesn't matter to me how much you sell them for. Suyu didn't want to haggle over such a matter, so he entered the elixir production room and went into seclusion. It was only after he entered the room that Suyu felt a bit more secure, so he let the small Kylan out. After it went outside, the small Kylan started jumping around excitedly. Suyu took out the elixir furnace and said, don't leave the secret room, as there is a seal here that can isolate all senses. Even if there is an almighty expert outside, it will be difficult for them to detect your existence. But if you leave the secret room, it will be difficult for them to detect you. The small Kylan nodded its head blankly, while its big purple eyes looked curiously at Suyu, who was fiddling with the elixir furnace and the ingredients. It then ran over to him and asked, Master, what are you doing? Suyu replied absent-mindedly, making elixirs. Making elixirs? The small Kylan got lost in its thoughts, then said, I also want to make elixirs. Suyu was startled by this. but soon after he found it quite funny. He then took out the mysterious heavenly elixir production secret technique and threw it at it. "Take it and read it quietly." It would be strange if it could understand it, Suyu thought inwardly. This was just a way for the small Kylan to kill time, so that it wouldn't get bored and disturb Suyu's elixir production. The small Kylan wagged its tail excitedly and ran to a corner with the scroll in its mouth. It then opened the scroll with its little hooves and spread it out on the ground. Then he lay in front of the scroll, his eyes wide open as he flipped through it with great interest. When Suyu took a look at it, he couldn't help but smack his lips. Could this little guy really understand human words? Since time was limited, Suyu didn't have any time to pay attention to it, so he immediately started making elixirs. However, not long after he started making the elixirs, a commotion transmitted from outside the secret room. A tall and sturdy man, who wore a barbed collar around his neck, was speaking to the alluring cabinet master in a deep voice. "Cabinet master, I believe that you are aware of my status. There isn't any business in the outer sanctum's black market that my Shao family doesn't get involved in. I heard that you have a large number of primordial chaos vital pills for sale, so I boldly ask you to hand them over to us so that we can help you sell them." The alluring cabinet master wasn't interested in him at all. "I have my own channels, so why should I hand them over to you? If you don't have anything else to say, you can leave now." The tall and sturdy man grinned. "Cabinet master, you must be joking. Although you don't mind letting your superiors know that you joined the black market's trade, you still mind letting the elixir hall know about the existence of an alchemist, right? Once that alchemist is taken away by the elixir hall, we won't be able to get the primordial chaos vital pills, and you won't be able to either." Upon hearing this, the alluring cabinet master raised her eyes and looked at him. Her charming face was filled with coldness as she asked, "Are you threatening me?" "Hee, cabinet master, you are being too serious. I just want to do a business that will make both of us happy. Otherwise, we won't be able to get any benefits." The tall and sturdy young man chuckled strangely. He didn't take the cabinet master seriously. The alluring cabinet master asked calmly, "You are talking to a divine master in such a manner. Do you think that you have a strong backer?" The tall and sturdy young man said, "A divine master is indeed a high-ranking official in the outer sanctum, but he's just SOSO in the inner sanctum. Cabinet master, do you really want to offend the leaders of the black market in the inner sanctum?" Upon hearing this, the alluring cabinet master squinted her eyes, but she surprisingly didn't retort. The tall and sturdy young man said mockingly, "I don't care where you got those elixirs, and I just want your elixirs. I'll pay you 55 merit points each, and you can leave the rest to us. You won't suffer any losses. What do you think?" "Nothing." Suddenly, a strand of a cold and indifferent voice sounded out from outside the pavilion. A woman and a man rushed into the pavilion, one after the other. The former was Xueqi, while the latter was the sloppy ruffian Long. The tall and sturdy young man didn't recognize Xueqi, but ruffian Long did. They were both from the outer sanctum's black market, so how could they not recognize the famous ruffian Long? Fear appeared in the eyes of the tall and sturdy young man, and he scolded him. "Ruffian Long, I'm talking about proper business here. Don't you know the rules?" Xueqi furrowed her brows and looked at Ruffian Long. "What are you waiting for?" "Hee." Ruffian Long laughed strangely and wore a faint smile as he looked at the tall and sturdy young man. Who? You still dare to bare your teeth in front of me? Do you think that you've become awe-inspiring after joining the Shao family? Have you forgotten the days when you were ordered around by me, like a dog? Who used to be Ruffian Long's subordinate, and when the Shao family had opened the black market in the outer sanctum, he had been the first to betray them and become the person in charge of the Shao family's black market in the outer sanctum. Who are you calling a dog? Who obviously didn't dare to admit defeat. Slap. However, when he had just finished speaking, a palm slapped him and sent him flying out of the pavilion. Ruffian Long's power was much higher than whose, and many miserable screams echoed from outside. Shue-chi looked at the alluring cabinet master and sighed helplessly. "Aunt, do you still want to stubbornly stay here? Even a small fry can bully you. So, come with me to the inner sanctum." The alluring cabinet master was unexpectedly Shue-chi's aunt. It was at this moment that the miserable screams outside stopped, and they were replaced by Ruffian Long's angry roar, which was followed by a pained groan. Swoosh! At the same time, a person with blue tattoos rushed into the pavilion. His gaze was sinister, and he wore an unkind expression. "Xiao Qingfeng?" The alluring cabinet master furrowed her brows. "Why did you come here?" Xiao Qingfeng clasped his hands behind his back. "I came to see the alchemist." "Cabinet master, please introduce me to him, or I can report him to the elixir hall." The alluring cabinet master's gaze became ice-cold when she heard him threaten her. "Your Xiao family's people really like to bully people intolerably." Xiao Qingfeng curled up the corners of his mouth and surveyed the surroundings. It was at this moment that Su Yu's elixir came out of the furnace, which emitted a fragrance. "Hee, there is no need for cabinet master, as I will invite the alchemist myself." Xiao Qingfeng strode over. The expressions of Shue-chi and the alluring cabinet master became tense, and they rushed over. With a smile on his face, Xiao Qingfeng put down his hands and cupped his fists. "Friend from the sect, I'm Xiao Qingfeng. I hope to make a deal with you." Shue-chi looked at him disdainfully. "I'm Shue-chi from the inner sanctum. I'm sorry for disturbing you while you were concocting elixirs." In the private room, Su Yu's gaze became ice-cold. "Xiao Qingfeng? What gall! To actually come looking for trouble." "What is it?" Su Yu asked coldly. Xiao Qingfeng was extraordinarily confident. "I represent the Xiao clan, and I hope to cooperate with you. In the future, you will be able to refine primordial chaos vital pills at a price of 55 merit points. This price is very reasonable. After all, the elixir hall only requires 50 merit points." Shue-chi sneered. "The black market starting price is 60 merit points, but the Xiao family's price is 50 merit points? Ridiculous. Senior, why don't you hand over the pills to me? I guarantee that each pill will cost at least 60 merit points. Senior, please judge." The two of them were fighting over the elixir, but they had left the alluring cabinet master aside. If Su Yu handed the elixir to them, the alluring cabinet master would end up with nothing. Judgment? Sure. Su Yu's eyes flickered with an ice-cold glint. It turned out that Xiao Qingfeng had a favor to ask of him, but if one wanted to ask someone, one must have the proper attitude. Even though he was obviously bullying him, he still dared to boast about asking him for help. The Xiao clan's moral conduct was really inherited from generation to generation. Su Yu felt like he must let Xiao Qingfeng know how to properly ask someone for help. This person had plotted against him twice in a row, while Su Yu hid behind him and played dirty tricks. Now that he had finally shown himself, how could Su Yu let him off? 55 merit points? Young Master Xiao, do you think that I don't understand the market? Or do you think that only you can sell elixirs? Su Yu feigned anger. Xiao Qingfeng smiled confidently. It's because of our Xiao family's reputation. Xiao family's reputation? Su Yu chuckled. I never heard of it. I just heard that your family's test was recently exterminated by someone, and that the murderer is still getting away with it. If your cowardice is the reason why you are so proud of yourself, then I don't mind considering cooperating with your Xiao family. Upon hearing this, the Xiao family's expression became gloomy. Your Excellency, aren't you being too rude? Humph. Su Yu snorted coldly. It's my freedom to speak however I want, and if you don't want to listen to me, then just get lost. Xiao Qingfeng's face turned red and green as he was scolded. He could feel that Su Yu was extremely infuriated, and he knew that if he continued like this, he wouldn't be able to carry out this deal. Xiao Qingfeng suppressed his anger and spoke in a deep voice. My friend, my words were inappropriate, and I hope that you can forgive me. But since you think that the price is too low, then we can still discuss the price of 60 merit points. Su Yu replied coldly, if your Xiao family really wants to cooperate with us, then it isn't impossible for us to do so. What? Both Xueqi and the Yao cabinet master were startled by this. Xiao Qingfeng's expression relaxed. My friend, please speak freely. It's quite simple. As long as you represent the Xiao family and help me lick my shoes clean, then I will agree to this deal, Su Yu said calmly. Chapter 798. Xueqi was taken aback by this. Why does it seem like this senior has a bad temper? Xueqi rejoiced inwardly when she saw Xiao Qingfeng's reaction. It was fortunate that she had realized in advance that this alchemist's skill was high, so she had been polite to him. Otherwise, she would have followed in Xiao Qingfeng's footsteps. Xiao Qingfeng's expression became gloomy when he heard this. He felt humiliated and said, Friend, aren't you too arrogant? Our Xiao family has many early-stage spirit elixirs that can make third-grade spirit elixirs. Before he could finish his words, Su Yu interrupted him. Then you can go back and look for your family's alchemists. Why do you need to beg me here? Xiao Qingfeng was left speechless. The Red Blood Palace planted a large number of spirit herbs, so it had a rich supply of elixirs. Moreover, it could be bought directly from the elixir hall. This way, there were no material merchants who could profit from it, so the cost of elixir's ingredients was quite low. For example, the cost of making a primordial chaos vital pill was 15 merit points. But in the outside world, a portion of the ingredients had to go through many different circulation processes. First, the picker, then the material merchant, then the distributor, and finally the medicine shop. All of these processes would increase the price by at least 50 merit points. Such a phenomenon was quite common in his previous world. A product that could be sold for 10 cents could be sold for $1 or even $10 in a shop. In comparison, the price of the ingredients had only increased from 15 merit points to 50. This was because this world's commerce wasn't very developed, and there weren't many circulation channels. Otherwise, if there were more distributors, the cost of the ingredients would reach 150 merit points per portion. This was why an external elixir that cost 50 merit points to make could only be sold for a sky-high price. So who would buy it? The answer was that no one would buy it. Even if he brought it here, no one would buy it, unless the Xiao family was rich enough to sell it at a loss. This was the reason why Xiao Qingfeng had come to look for Su Yu instead of bringing the elixirs from his family. Xiao Qingfeng was infuriated, and his gaze became ice-cold. Aren't you afraid that I will expose you? The elixir hall has strict restrictions on making elixirs in private. If they learn of your existence, they will surely force you to join them. At that time, you will become a tool for the elixir hall's elixir production, and you will only get 1,000 merit points every month. You better consider it carefully. If you do this, everyone will benefit. Otherwise, if I don't get any benefits, you won't have an easy time either. He thought that he had something on Su Yu, which was why he dared to threaten him. Xueqi snorted. The black market has its own rules, so you better not mess around. Xiao Qingfeng was not afraid at all. So what if I mess around? When he just finished speaking, Su Yu's cold laughter transmitted from behind the stone door. It's nothing much. It's just that if many disciples who are in desperate need of the primordial chaos vital pill find out that it was your Xiao family who sold me out and left them without the primordial chaos vital pill, it would surely affect your Xiao family's black market business in the outer sanctum. Please remember, those who can afford the primordial chaos true pill are not weak disciples. Are you sure you want to bear the infamy and affect your business? Even if he reported Su Yu, he wouldn't get any benefits, and it would affect the Xiao family's reputation and business in the outer sanctum's black market. Xiao Qingfeng was not someone who could bear the consequences. Otherwise, those people from the inner court behind the scenes might even want to kill him. Moreover, Xiao Qingfeng didn't know Suyu's true identity, so how could he report him to the elixir hall? Xiao Qingfeng's complexion alternated between green and purple. He clenched his fists, and a murderous aura surged out of them. After entering the outer sanctum, no one had ever dared to trample on him. Su Yu spoke calmly. If you don't have anything else to say, then get lost. Don't disturb me while I'm making elixirs. The muscles on Xiao Qingfeng's face twitched. It was obvious that he was infuriated, but he still didn't dare to do anything to Suyu. After all, there were two divine masters standing next to him. Let's wait and see. Xiao Qingfeng clenched his teeth and walked out of the raging flame cabinet dejectedly. The alluring cabinet master raised her eyebrows and sneered coldly. Eldest young master Xiao, don't forget to swipe your card, as well as your slave, 200 merit points. Xiao Qingfeng's face became gloomy as he swiped 200 merit points. Xue Qi's gaze shifted. Then she said with a faint smile, Senior, the cabinet master is my aunt, so it's the same if you let us take care of the elixirs. She was brazenly trying to steal her aunt's business, and it seemed like she was trying to force the Raging Flame cabinet master to return to her faction. The Raging Flame cabinet master's heart tightened, as this was a great income, which was equal to more than 10,000 merit points a month. It was rare for many of the Outer Sanctum's cabinet masters and palace masters to get such extra income. Senior, as long as you agree, we can provide you with even cheaper materials. Of course, our price will be the same as my aunt's, which will be 60 merit points per pill. Xue Qi was part of the organization, so she could get her hands on even cheaper materials. This was something the Raging Flame cabinet master couldn't achieve. Xue Qi, do you really want to force me? The Raging Flame cabinet master's expression became ice cold. Xue Qi replied with a stern look, that's right. Aunt, why must you humiliate yourself by staying in the outer sanctum? As long as you want it, you can even take on a cushy job in the inner sanctum, and you can even earn 50,000 merit points a month. So, why must you work so hard in the outer sanctum to earn merit points? The Raging Flame cabinet master shook her head, her expression firm. As long as that person is still here, I won't go back. If you want to steal this business, then hurry up and do it. Even if I don't get any merit points, I still won't lower my head to him. Aunt you. Xue Qi was quite anxious, but when she saw her aunt's ice-cold expression, she realized that she had just gotten angry. She then looked at Su Yu's stone door and said, Senior, come with me. I will provide you with another place to make elixirs. Before she could even finish her words, an old man's laughter transmitted over. Hee hee, when did I agree to your request? This place is quite good, so I won't leave. So, please help yourself. Xue Qi was startled by this, and she thought that she had misheard him. Senior, our ingredients are cheaper, and we can provide you with a specialized elixir production room. You won't need such a crude place. I already said that you should help yourself. Su Yu was slightly displeased. Xue Qi couldn't believe this, and she wondered. Even my sister has given up. So why can't this senior put down his pride? If she didn't respect the senior's alchemy skills, she would really want to break open the stone door and see what kind of strange old monster was inside. Her face was filled with unwillingness, and she wanted to say something several times, but she hesitated. In the end, she could only bow and leave. When she passed by the Raging Flame cabinet master, she said calmly, Aunt, please don't make things difficult for yourself for the sake of your future. After she spoke, she left. The Raging Flame cabinet master turned a deaf ear to her words, and she just looked at Su Yu's private room with a complicated look in her eyes. She then sighed softly and asked, Lad, why did you do this? Su Yu chuckled and said, I just don't like changing partners at the last minute. Cabinet master, you shouldn't overthink this. In fact, Suyu had been considering this matter both because he wanted to help the cabinet master, but also because he wanted to protect himself. After all, it was better for him not to let anyone else besides the cabinet master know about his true identity. The raging flame cabinet master pursed her lips and swayed her hips as she asked, "Lad, do you want me to reward you with something?" Even though they were separated by the thick stone door, Suyu could still feel her alluring charm, and he couldn't help but shrink his neck back. He then said, "Cabinet master, I'm afraid that I won't be able to make elixirs here for a long time. Since the black market managed to find you here, then even if the elixir hall's eyes and ears aren't as sharp as the black market's, they will still quickly find this place. The elixir hall wouldn't let any sanctum's alchemists make elixirs without permission, and once they were discovered, they would be forced to join the elixir hall and turn into elixir production tools." The raging flame cabinet's mistress had also thought of this matter, so she agreed with him. "What you said is correct. The raging flame cabinet's elixir production isn't the right path, and I believe that the elixir hall will quickly find you." As the raging flame cabinet's mistress muttered to herself, she bit her lip and said hesitantly, "If you don't mind, you can make elixirs in my residence. I've been cultivating fire cultivation techniques for a long time, so I set up a cultivation room with a powerful earth fire. It isn't any worse than the raging flame cabinet's cultivation room. I believe that even if the elixir hall's people were searching for you, they wouldn't be able to search a cabinet master's private residence. So you can make elixirs at ease." Her residence? Suyu mulled it over for a moment, then nodded and said, "I won't take advantage of you, so I can save 100 merit points each time I enter the raging flame cabinet. So you'll get an extra 50 merit points every day, and you'll get 1,500 per month." Delight appeared on the raging flame cabinet's mistress's face. Who wouldn't want more merit points? At noon, the raging flame cabinet's mistress gave some instructions to the disciples who were on guard duty, then left with Suyu. As the two disciples looked at the alluring and sexy cabinet master leading Suyu away, they couldn't help but envy them. It can't be. Cabinet master is even interested in such an old man? One of the disciples clicked his tongue in envy. The disciple next to him, who was experienced and prudent, shook his head and said, "The raging flame cabinet's mistress isn't a loose woman like you imagine her to be. She's really charming, but I've never heard any scandals about her in the 2 years I've been in the outer sanctum. Instead, there are some indecent rumors about her, which are spread by some solemn-looking female seniors." Upon hearing this, the disciple suddenly understood everything. Then, where is the raging flame cabinet's mistress taking him to? As Suyu followed behind the raging flame cabinet's mistress, he couldn't help but put some distance between them. This woman was too dazzling. Along the way, many disciples, regardless of whether they were men or women, were attracted by her. Most of the women's gazes were filled with jealousy, while the men's gazes were filled with ardent passion. Even Suyu, who was following behind her, was doubted by them. The raging flame cabinet's mistress, who was walking in the front, curled her lips into a playful smile. She suddenly stopped swaying her hips and stood there, waiting for Suyu to come over. "Young Master Su, are you tired? Let me support you." The raging flame cabinet's mistress revealed a crafty smile and stretched out her snow-white arms to hold Suyu's. Then she intimately hooked them together. Her actions caused a great disturbance. What's their relationship? A male disciple, who was infatuated with her, flew into a rage. The male disciple next to him sighed and said, "Didn't you recognize that old disciple? He's a newly advanced demon, the supreme central demon. It's rumored that on the first day he entered the demon mountain, he forcefully took advantage of the outer sanctum's #1 ice goddess, Bing Wuxin. I really didn't expect that even the raging flame cabinet's mistress would fall prey to him. Supreme central demon, I will fight you to the death." The eyes of many male disciples who had their sweethearts stolen by Suyu were filled with flames. It seemed like they wanted to burn Suyu alive. Black lines appeared on Suyu's face as he asked, "Are you done?" The raging flame cabinet's mistress wore a faint smile as she approached him on purpose. She then said, I'm just helping you to establish yourself as a supreme central demon. Only then will you be able to gain a foothold in the demon mountain." Suyu clenched his teeth. Not only could he not get angry, but he also had to act as if nothing had happened, while bearing the many murderous gazes. It was at this moment that they passed by the Heavenly Peak Tower. A man and 2 women were sitting cross-legged in a private room on the 2nd floor. They were Gongsun Wuxia, Bing Wuxin, and a fair-skinned youth who had a handsome face and a gloomy look. He seemed to be in his 20s, and he wore a faint smile at the corners of his mouth. He was pouring wine for them in an amiable manner. It seemed like they were acquaintances. "Wuxin, when I came back a month ago, I was fortunate enough to be summoned by your father. He doesn't oppose our marriage," the gloomy man said as he looked at Bing Wuxin. Bing Wuxin's face was expressionless and calm, as if she didn't care about such a matter. She lowered her head and started reading a book. She then said calmly, "I'm wholeheartedly pursuing the martial path's apex, so I won't look for a partner. Whether my father opposes it or not is none of my business." Bing Wuxin's character was just like her name. She was known for being merciless and obsessed with the martial path. Many geniuses in the inner sanctum had expressed their love for her, but it was a pity that none of them had gotten anything from her. No one could shake her state of mind. It was as if she only had martial arts in her heart. Gongsun Wuxia rolled her eyes. Senior brother Lao, you're late. Sister Wuxin already has someone she likes." Crack! The wine pot in the gloomy man's hand shattered, but the faint smile on his face didn't change much. "I'm here for this matter. I heard that a newcomer has committed an unforgivable crime against Wuxin. Is this true?" Staring at Bing Wuxin, the gloomy man didn't quite believe it, but the lingering injuries on her body made the gloomy man's heart clench slightly. Could the newcomer really be as ruthless as the rumor said, and had forcefully taken Bing Wuxin by force? He had come all the way from the inner sanctum for this matter. Bing Wuxin's face was indifferent and her tone was calm. "No, I did it willingly. Wuxia is right. We are in love with each other." The gloomy man's smile froze. He forced a smile and said, "Wuxin, you must be saying this on purpose to avoid entanglement, right?" Bing Wuxin raised her head, her eyes indifferent. "We are indeed in love with each other. Believe it or not, it won't change anything." Slap! The gloomy man's face darkened. "Wuxin, did you really lose your chastity to him? With your noble status? I don't believe it." At this moment, Gongsun Wuxia saw Suyu, who was being pulled by the raging flame cabinet's mistress, out of the corner of her eye. Her big purple eyes widened, and she rolled her eyes as she cried out in alarm, "Sister Wuxin, isn't that Brother Yuxian?" Bing Wuxin followed her gaze, and saw that Suyu was walking intimately with an alluring woman. Their heads were so close to each other that it seemed like they were whispering in each other's ears. Bing Wuxin couldn't help but scold him softly, "Shameless!" Then she retracted her gaze as if nothing had happened and fixed it on the book. The gloomy man couldn't help but squint his eyes. It didn't seem like Bing Wuxin had fallen in love with this lad. Even though he was acting intimately with another woman in public, he still didn't manage to arouse any feelings from her. This seemed somewhat suspicious. Gongsun Wuxia wanted to stir up trouble, so she secretly nudged Bing Wuxin's arm and transmitted her voice to her. "Sister Wuxin, you are now a couple. If you turn a blind eye to this, won't people get suspicious?" Bing Wuxin was taken aback by this, but she quickly understood. Slap! Bing Wuxin closed the book and stood up. Her face was ice cold, and she held the snow-white longsword at her waist. Her long robe, which had a dragon embroidered on it, started fluttering in the wind. Bang! Bing Wuxin took a step forward and crushed the railing. She seemed like a god of slaughter as she jumped down from the building. She was still several feet away from him when she shouted angrily, "Shameless lad! How dare you look for another woman? I will kill you!" Sizzle! Her sword energy was like a song, and it contained many sword shadows. They streaked across the sky and engulfed Suyu. Suyu, who was still displeased, was startled by a shocking murderous aura that locked onto him. He assumed that it was Xiao Yueming who had come to kill him. When he raised his head and looked at it, he saw the overlapping sword shadows, which possessed great destructive power. Suyu was slightly shaken. What a brilliant sword technique! In his haste, Suyu couldn't discern which sword shadow was real and which was fake. When he saw the sword's owner, Suyu's face darkened. It was Bing Wuxin. He didn't believe that this woman would really be jealous of him. She was probably just pretending to be jealous because she had no other choice. However, such a ruthless attack didn't seem to be an act at all. Such a sharp sword energy contained a might that wasn't any weaker than the almighty divine masters that Suyu had seen before. Suyu was considering whether he should use his heavenly eyes when a fragrant wind blew beside him. The raging flame cabinet's mistress squinted her eyes. She didn't move at all, but a giant white phantom image flickered behind her. The sword energy which was engulfing her was shaken and lost its sense of direction. Hee, Ice Mountain Beauty, you really have a bad temper. Do you really care about your lover this much? The raging flame cabinet's mistress chuckled as she looked at the beautiful woman. Bing Wuxin pointed her sword at Suyu from afar, her face ice cold. You heartless man, I will kill you today. Suyu was speechless. This heartless woman's injuries haven't even recovered. Yet she's already so ferocious. Her fighting prowess was comparable to some divine master experts who hadn't condensed a divine art yet. If she recovered from her injuries, wouldn't she be even more terrifying? It was no wonder that she had become the Outer Sanctum's #1 expert. Her fighting prowess was unfathomable, and Suyu wasn't sure that he could defeat her, let alone kill her. If you want to touch my little brother, you must first ask for my permission. The raging flame cabinet's mistress was slightly gloomy. She had just teased Suyu casually, and she hadn't expected that Bing Wuxin would attack her. What was even more baffling was that Bing Wuxin seemed to like Suyu, and she was even jealous of him. Now, due to a freak combination of factors, she was misunderstood as a third party who had interfered in their relationship. She couldn't understand Bing Wuxin's relationship with Suyu. Didn't Suyu rape Bing Wuxin? Why did it seem like Bing Wuxin didn't hate him at all? Instead, she was protecting Suyu? At this moment, the Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress couldn't get off easily, so the Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress could only face her head-on. Bing Wuxin looked at the Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress and thought inwardly, as long as I fight her, I should be able to let the world understand the relationship between me and Suyu. Shameless! You unexpectedly dared to seduce my Suyu. I heard that you have cultivated the demonic fox great technique to an extremely high level, so I will have a taste of it. Bing Wuxin attacked the Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress as she held her sword. The Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress was gloomy. Now that things had come to this, it could be ascertained that Bing Wuxin had feelings for Suyu. What kind of world is this? Bing Wuxin, who only seeks the way and doesn't care about emotions, has unexpectedly been raped. However, this wasn't the time for her to admit defeat, so she sneered coldly and said, Is that so? I heard that you have cultivated the 9 heartless swords to an extremely high level, so I can also have a taste of it. I won't bully you, and I will suppress my cultivation to the same level as yours. Let's fight in the sky. Bing Wuxin's fighting spirit was aroused, and she soared into the sky. The Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress chased after her and soared into the clouds. Then the 2 women started fighting. The onlookers were all dumbfounded. When they looked at Suyu, their eyes seemed as if they were about to burst into flames. The Ice Goddess and the Fiery Beauty are the Outer Sanctum's peerless geniuses, yet they are fighting over a man's affections. In an instant, The sound of many hearts shattering echoed. Impossible. I must have gone crazy. How is this possible? How could someone as noble as them get jealous over a man? This day was the sunset in the hearts of the outer sanctum's male disciples, and it broke their hearts. The corners of Suyu's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He was sure that those two women didn't have any romantic feelings for him, but he still couldn't understand why they were fighting like this. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a strong wind assaulted Suyu's back. Even though Suyu was paying attention to the two women's fight, his attention was still elsewhere. When he sensed the change in the airflow behind him, he felt that something was amiss, so he immediately moved his shoulder and dodged it. Chapter 799. The 2015 Elimination of Pornography and Illegal Publications campaign is in progress, and the Yuewen Group will actively cooperate with the relevant departments to submit information. Authors, please be vigilant when writing. Do not violate the rules. Suyu's heart sank. At the critical moment, a green light flashed on his body, and a green spiritual ruler appeared. Bang! The six-directional ruler predicted the attack and blocked it in advance. However, the power was too great, and the six-directional ruler was unable to disperse it completely. Seizing the opportunity, Suyu twisted his body in the air, activated his vital energy, and punched with both fists. A power comparable to 6.5 elephants whizzed out from his fists like a tornado, hitting the remaining energy. Chirp! The two energies clashed violently in the air, causing an ear-piercing sound to be heard. Thud, thud! Suyu groaned and took 2 steps back, a trace of blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. When he looked down, he saw that his fists were bleeding from the friction, and blood was slowly seeping through them. You can actually block it? A sinister voice floated from behind him. Suyu turned around and squinted his eyes. A fair-skinned youth with sinister eyes was standing behind him with his hands clasped behind his back, looking at the calm Suyu in astonishment. Such a young divine master? Only inner sanctum disciples. What made his gaze turn cold was that, as an inner sanctum disciple, he had actually disregarded his status and launched a sneak attack. If the six-directional ruler hadn't appeared and absorbed most of the power in time, Suyu would have been seriously injured. Of course, the youth didn't use his full strength, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to neutralize the divine master's attack so easily. I wanted to teach you a lesson so that you would remember me, but it seems like you are quite capable. In that case, I can only do it again. The sinister youth didn't care about his status as an inner sanctum disciple at all, and spoke casually. When he finished speaking, his figure blurred, and he was as fast as lightning. The crowd gasped in surprise, seeing that Suyu was about to be whipped to the ground. Suyu's gaze turned cold, and a cold silk thread was faintly discernible in his sleeve. Even a divine master's body couldn't withstand the cutting of the chaos butterfly's silk thread. Since the youth had offered to cut off his palm, Suyu naturally didn't mind helping him. Just as he was secretly manipulating the silk thread, a hunchbacked figure teleported and appeared in front of Suyu and the sinister youth first. The white-haired old man gently pointed his crutch forward, and the young man with a sinister expression who was charging at him like a lightning bolt was struck by a thunderbolt, and he retreated madly. The sinister-looking young man was forced to take 7 or 8 steps back. Then he barely managed to stabilize his body. His fair face was slightly pale. He let out a muffled groan, and a trace of blood spilled out of his mouth. Abruptly raising his head, the sinister-looking young man's complexion changed slightly. His expression became somewhat gloomy. "Palace Master Hua, what do you mean?" The person who appeared in time was none other than one of the 2 junior palace masters of the outer sect, Palace Master Hua. A faint smile appeared on the old face. If you can use this method to make a new outer sect disciple remember you, then this old man can naturally use the same method to make an inner sect disciple who doesn't care about status remember the outer sect's young palace master. He could rely on his cultivation to bully others, but so could the young palace mistress. The sinister-looking youth had a gloomy expression. He was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. The gap between the two sides was obvious from the exchange just now. He didn't dare to resent the young palace master, so he could only vent his resentment on Suyu. He shot him a cold glare as he said, "Lad, do you really think that you deserve to win Wuxin's heart? Who do you think you are?" Suyu shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, "I am a nobody and I really don't have any status. Naturally, I can't be compared to someone like you, who launched a sneak attack confidently." Hearing this, many Outer Sanctum disciples naturally stood from the perspective of an Outer Sanctum disciple. An Inner Sanctum disciple with the cultivation of Divine Master had launched a sneak attack just to show off his strength. This was really disgusting. Not only did this move not make people respect his overbearingness, but it also made them hate his character. "You have a sharp tongue. If Palace Master Hua hadn't protected you, I would have ripped off your tongue," the sinister-looking youth said coldly, looking at Palace Master Hua with respect. Suyu didn't refute this, but kept the silk in his sleeves quietly. Palace Master Hua glanced at Suyu's sleeves from the corner of his eyes, which flickered slightly. He chuckled and said, "Did you really think that I was protecting Suyu? Young man, you should be cautious in everything you do. Be careful not to fail miserably." Hearing this, many Outer Sanctum disciples raised their eyebrows. They were extremely shocked. Judging from Palace Master Hua's words, could it be that he wasn't protecting Suyu, but the sinister-looking youth? Suyu shuddered slightly, while he looked at Palace Master Hua's back. It seemed like his small action in his sleeves didn't escape the young Palace Master's eyes. If Suyu had seriously injured or even killed this Inner Sanctum disciple, he would have committed a grave mistake. And if the Inner Sanctum investigated this matter, even if he didn't die, he would still be severely injured. In order to prevent such a thing from happening, Palace Master Hua had appeared in time to stop Suyu. The sinister-looking youth's pupils contracted slightly. He couldn't believe that a puny fairy could cause such a fatal injury to him. The sinister-looking youth stared at Suyu and shook his head coldly. Palace Master Hua didn't just protect his safety, but also his dignity. "Fine, it seems like it will be difficult for me to leave a deep impression on this junior brother today. But there will be ample time for that. Suyu, the next time we meet, it won't be so easy." After he finished speaking, the sinister-looking youth flicked his sleeves and left. Suyu stared at his departing figure, while coldness flickered in the depths of his eyes. He didn't mind that the other party had come for Bing Wuxin. After all, if he really liked Bing Wuxin, Suyu could have calmly told him the whole story. However, the other party's way of dealing with it was so extreme that Suyu was disgusted by it. Next time, it really wouldn't be so easy. "Palace Master Hua, many thanks for your help," Suyu said to the Palace Master Hua. Although his words were filled with gratitude, his tone was slightly resentful. A moment ago, he had wanted to vent his anger, but he had detected it and stopped him in advance. The Palace Master Hua chuckled and said, "Lad, you can't blame me. If you had really injured Lao Ai and the Inner Sanctum's people investigated this matter, even us Palace Masters wouldn't be able to protect you. So, before you enter the Inner Sanctum, you must avoid excessive conflicts with the Inner Sanctum." After he finished speaking, the Palace Master Hua raised his head and looked at Bing Wuxin and the fiery minister, who were fighting fiercely. He then chuckled bitterly and said, "You two little ancestors, you must take it easy. Don't destroy the Outer Sanctum." However, what was strange was that, even though he was the young Palace Master, he didn't dare to stop them. Instead, he pretended that he hadn't seen them and disappeared quietly. The two women seemed to have detected Lao Ai's attack, so they gradually stopped fighting and flew back to Suyu's side. "Lad, did that guy injure you?" The fiery minister stepped forward and asked with concern. After ascertaining that Suyu had only suffered light injuries, he heaved a sigh of relief. He then turned around and looked at Bing Wuxin with a displeased look on his face. Your friend is really promising. He even dared to launch a sneak attack. Bing Wuxin put away her long sword calmly. He's not my friend, but since he dared to attack Su Yu, he should be punished. Bing Wuxin's brows flickered with a murderous aura, and she suddenly shot in the direction where Lao Ai had left. She strode forward, intending to chase after him and kill him. This woman was resolute and decisive, and she would do as she said. However, it was unknown whether she was really angry because of the sneak attack or just pretending to care about her lover, Su Yu. All of a sudden, Gong Sun Wuxia poked her head out of the crowd and said with a smile, "Hee, there's no need for that." Bing Wuxin furrowed her brows. Why? Gong Sun Wuxia was fiddling with a small white gourd, which was filled with multicolored powder. I poisoned the wine he drank in the Yutian Tower, and it should have taken effect by now. Gong Sun Wuxia's purple eyes curved into a pair of beautiful crescent moons. Bing Wuxin was startled. What poison? Did you poison him to death? Gong Sun Wuxia smiled sweetly. I'm so cute, so why would I use such a vicious poison? I just made him have diarrhea for 3 months, and he can't leave the outhouse. This is a special medicine that Brother Shanliang made for me. After swallowing it, he'll have diarrhea continuously, and he'll have diarrhea from whatever he eats. Even a breath of air will cause him to have diarrhea. For 3 months, he won't be able to leave the outhouse. Oh, I forgot to mention that this is a newly developed medicine, and there's no antidote for it. In Su Yu's eyes, as well as those of many Outer Sanctum disciples, that sweet smile was the little devil's signature smile. Swish! The Outer Sanctum disciples who were watching the scene scattered like birds and beasts in an instant. The corners of Su Yu's mouth twitched, and he kept a distance from Gong Sun Wuxia. This little girl was always thinking about making people suffer. She had just met Lao Ai, and she was already determined to make him have diarrhea for 3 months. For some reason, Su Yu faintly felt that Gong Sun Wuxia was looking at him faintly when she mentioned the dreadful medicine for diarrhea. This made Su Yu's blood run cold, and he became more alert. He swore in his heart that he definitely couldn't give this little devil any chance to poison him. Let's go. Bing Wuxin looked at Gong Sun Wuxia, then strode away with her slender legs. Before she left, she looked at Su Yu, as if to ask him whether he was coming with her or not. Su Yu said, I still have something to do. Bing Wuxin furrowed her brows and glared at him before she left with Gong Sun Wuxia. Wherever they passed, there was chaos, and everyone closed their doors and windows. It was as if a plague was spreading. Su Yu clicked his tongue. What a group of fiends! After a long while, Su Yu and the Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress arrived at her mansion. It wasn't large, and it was an independent courtyard. There was a bedroom and a cultivation room in it. Let's check the cultivation room's condition and see whether it's suitable for refining elixirs. The Raging Flame Cabinet's mistress twirled her wet hair and glared at Su Yu resentfully. In order to earn merit points, I was almost killed by your little lover. You must refine elixirs for me and try your best to compensate me. Su Yu laughed bitterly in his heart. Su Yu didn't bother to explain himself, so he entered the cultivation room to check it out. The temperature of the earth fire was quite high, and it wasn't any lower than that of the Raging Flame Cabinets. It was quite suitable for refining elixirs. After Su Yu closed the stone door, he took out the materials, the elixir furnace, and the rest of the tools. He was about to continue refining elixirs. At this moment, the 9 jade spiritual pearl flickered with a purple light, and the small Kylan ran out by itself with a scroll in its mouth. It squatted in front of Su Yu like a puppy and opened the scroll in its mouth on the ground. It pointed at the scroll with its little hoof, while its eyes were filled with longing. I want to refine elixirs. I want to refine elixirs. Su Yu was startled. Refine elixirs? You? After thinking about it for a moment, Su Yu threw a set of primordial chaos vital pills materials at it. The small Kylan didn't use the earth fire or the elixir furnace, but relied on itself. It opened its mouth and spouted a mass of purple flames, which engulfed the materials. Su Yu was startled by this, and he wondered, when did the small Kylin learn to spit out flames? Moreover, it's a purple flame that I've never seen before. The flame's temperature wasn't very high, but surprisingly, the materials which required high temperatures to melt melted quickly like snowflakes in the purple flames. Its effect was much higher than the earth fire by many levels. Where did you get the flames? Su Yu noticed the small Kylin's abnormality and asked with a grave expression. The small Kylin pointed at its chest with its little hoof, indicating that the changes came from within its body. Su Yu was lost in thought. The small Kylin's growth didn't seem to require external help, and it grew naturally. Now, the mysterious purple flames that it had cultivated seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. In Su Yu's memory, there seemed to be a mysterious space within the small Kylin's body, which could easily accommodate a large number of items. Could the source of its changes be from the mysterious space within its body? Looking at the small Kylin, Su Yu was very curious about its origin. While he was deep in thought, the small Kylin melted the materials skillfully, then controlled the purple flames, and finally fused the elixir. The entire process was smooth and natural. Su Yu was shocked. He was sure that this wasn't a state that a novice alchemist should have. It was so skillful and familiar with the process, even more skillful than Su Yu. It was as if it was an alchemist master. Su Yu was very surprised. Puff! The small Kylin opened its mouth, and a dark blue elixir was spat out. Su Yu's eyes were sharp, and he used a jade bottle to contain the elixir. When he looked at it, his pupils shrank. The elixir was densely packed with 3 snow-white, feather-like patterns. A 3rd-grade spirit elixir. Su Yu was shocked. It was his first time refining elixir, and he had already refined a 3rd-grade spirit elixir. Most importantly, Su Yu had only given it ordinary materials that hadn't been purified yet. What kind of superb skill was this? It could be said that he had turned something rotten into something magical. Judging from the increase in the elixir's quality after purification, if the purified materials were given to the small Kylin, it might be able to refine a 6th-grade spirit elixir. Su Yu's expression was solemn. Small Kylin, can you tell me how you can refine elixirs? The small Kylin smiled and pointed at its head with its hoof. A voice in my head told me that I could refine elixirs a long time ago. A long time ago? Was it the small Kylin's memory? He remembered that the small Kylin's previous master was a divine master. Could it be that the divine master had taught the small Kylin how to refine elixirs? Now that it had just recovered its memory, could it be proficient in refining elixirs? After thinking about it, this was the only explanation that made sense. After pondering it for a moment, delight appeared on Su Yu's face. This was a pleasant surprise. With the small Kylin's help, the number of primordial chaos vital pills he could refine would be doubled, and the merit points he would get would also be doubled. Now he would be able to get close to 40,000 merit points in a month. Coupled with the 40,000 merit points that he had gotten from the 4 demons, he would have a total of 80,000 merit points. If he could get a large amount of merit points from the Elegant Spirit Mountain, he might even be able to get 20,000 merit points, which would allow him to reach 100,000 merit points. In that case, he would be able to get the 9 Suns Cosmos Sword Formations, Sword Manual. As for the high-grade spirit elixirs, Su Yu didn't plan to let the small Kylin try them. A large amount of 3rd-grade primordial chaos vital pills had already alarmed the elixir hall, and if even 6th-grade primordial chaos vital pills appeared, the inner sanctum would be alarmed. At that time, even the Raging Flame Cabinet's master wouldn't be able to hide him. He could only look for an opportunity to refine several of them outside the palace and consume them in secret. As Su Yu thought about this, he started refining elixirs. Nightfall. After Su Yu left the Raging Flame Cabinet's master, she was dumbfounded as Su Yu took out 40 primordial chaos vital pills in one go. This made the Raging Flame cabinet's master so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. It must be known that every time she sold one, she would earn an extra 10 merit points. So, if she sold 20 pills every day, she would be able to earn 6,000 merit points in a month. This was really a pleasant surprise. In this way, Su Yu's daily visits to the Raging Flame cabinet's master's manor had already become a well-known fact among the Outer Sanctum's disciples. All of the Outer Sanctum's disciples could only worship such a supreme middle demon. After he entered the Outer Sanctum, he had first met Bing Wuxin, then the Raging Flame cabinet's master. He had subdued the Outer Sanctum's two beauties. However, this news had dimmed greatly due to another matter. Otherwise, many people would have come to challenge Suyu. It was that a primary alchemist was selling a large amount of third-grade primordial chaos vital pills in the black market. There was a daily limit of 40 pills, and he was selling them every day. The market was bustling, and almost all of the pills were sold out in one go. Many disciples who had a large amount of merit points would buy them all and save them to consume them slowly. The price of the pills kept rising, and the highest price it had reached 80 merit points. Even so, it still couldn't stop the craze of the buyers. For a whole month, a large amount of primordial chaos vital pills flowed into the pockets of many Outer Sanctum's disciples. This matter finally alarmed the Elixir Hall, and they started investigating it. After following the clues, they found the Raging Flame cabinet's master and entered the Raging Flame cabinet to investigate. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything. Due to the Raging Flame cabinet's master's identity, the Elixir Hall couldn't search his manor, so they could only give up. In order to resist the black market, the Elixir Hall had no choice but to organize alchemists to start refining primordial chaos vital pills. A large amount of cheap primordial chaos vital pills entered the market, and the disturbance in the black market gradually died down. As for Su Yu and the Raging Flame cabinet's master, after a month of crazy plundering, they had already earned a lot. The Raging Flame cabinet's master had earned 20,000 merit points. As for Su Yu, it was even more shocking, as he had earned a total of 38,000 merit points. After the two of them checked their accounts, they both revealed satisfied looks. At least, I didn't waste a month of hard work. Su Yu heaved a long sigh of relief. Besides the merit points, his crazy elixir refining had greatly improved his skills. Now, refining third-grade spirit elixirs was as easy as drinking water to him. Now, he had already started refining fourth-grade spirit elixirs. Now that the Elixir Hall has taken action, it will be difficult for us to get more primordial chaos vital pills for a long time. So, I think it's time for us to stop, Suyu said. The Raging Flame cabinet's master nodded. We should keep a low profile for a while. If we continue stirring up trouble, we might end up infuriating the Elixir Hall. If that's the case, then I will take my leave, Suyu said. The Raging Flame cabinet's master paused for a moment before he asked, Are you going to the elegant Spirit Mountain? Suyu nodded. That's right. A month has already passed, so it's time for me to go. Do you need something from me? It's nothing, but when you come back, I have someone I will recommend to you. I believe that he will be of great help to you. The Raging Flame cabinet's master seemed to have made a decision. Recommend someone. Suyu kept this in mind and nodded. He then returned to the Demon Mountain to meet with the 4 demons. When he entered the Demon Mountain, the 4 demons were already sitting cross-legged on the roof, quietly waiting for Su Yu's return. Bai Chunliang slowly opened his eyes, which flickered with a bright light. Central Demon, are you ready? Su Yu nodded. I'm ready, so we can leave now. Su Yu waved his hand, and the 4 demons landed on the roof, along with Zixian. When they left the Demon Mountain, they discovered that Xueqi had also arrived. Su Yu raised his brows. Where is the person you recommended? After all, he had given a quota to Xueqi. Xueqi chuckled. Why can't I come with you? You're just a divine master. So why do you need to go to the elegant spirit mountain to try your luck? Suyu was surprised. He had assumed that she would sell the quota to someone else, so he didn't expect that she would go there herself. Suyu couldn't help but wonder. She must have some other objective for going to the elegant spirit mountain. Why can't I? Xueqi walked over to him and exhaled a fragrant breath that assaulted his face. Suyu took a few steps back. This pair of aunt and niece were both so charming that they wouldn't hesitate to kill him. Fine, let's go to the mission hall to accept the mission and prepare to set off, Suyu said. The group of 7 people flew toward the mission hall in a grandiose manner. At the same time, a tall man was sitting cross-legged on a giant rock in the fairy confining forest. As he raised his head to look at the time, an eerie smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Suyu, it's time to send you on your way. Chapter 800. In the mission hall. This was one of the most bustling places in the sanctum. Every day, countless outer sanctum disciples would come to the mission hall and stare at the mission list. Once a mission with a generous amount of merit points appeared, they would immediately take it. When Suyu went to the mission hall and looked at the crowd, he couldn't help but smack his tongue. There were at least several thousand outer sanctum disciples here, all of whom were looking at the mission lists. The mission list was divided into 2 parts. One of them was enormous, and its projection was hanging in the sky. It was the mission that most people paid attention to. There was another mission list, but there weren't many people paying attention to it. It was just a 3-meter-wide boulder that was erected beside the hall. There was an old man sitting next to it. It seemed like this place was quite desolate. However, when the mission list flickered and a new mission appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of several thousand people. Their gazes became heated, as if the mission that appeared on this mission list was even more special. Junior brother Su, these 2 mission lists are called the Human List and the Ghost List. The Human List is a giant list that issues ordinary missions, while the Ghost List is a bolder list that issues special missions. There's a great disparity between them. Xueqi was quite interested in this trip to the elegant spirit mountain. A pensive look appeared on Suyu's face as he asked, "How are they special?" Xueqi pursed her lips and smiled. For example, the elegant Spirit Mountains mission can only be accepted by certain people. As for other people, no matter what kind of status they have, they can't accept some extremely dangerous missions. Most of these missions can't be completed by outer sanctum disciples, and some missions have remained on the list for 10 years. Missions that couldn't be completed even after 10 years? Suyu was startled by this. That's right. It's rumored that this mission has a reward of 3 million merit points. Moreover, the reward is increasing every year, and even the inner sanctum's geniuses are tempted by it. But it's a pity that all of them have failed, and the number of people who have gone missing is in the double digits. Gongsun Wuxia's eyes shone as she spoke. 3 million merit points? Suyu was shocked by this, and he wondered, what kind of difficult mission has such a huge reward? Moreover, what kind of background does the person who issued such a mission have? However, Suyu was just shocked by this, and he didn't plan to take this mission for the time being. After all, it had been 10 years, and the number of Inner Sanctum's geniuses who had died was in the double digits. All of the Inner Sanctum's geniuses were outstanding people, yet they still hadn't gotten any benefits from it. So, Suyu surely wouldn't invite a rebuff upon himself. He just kept this 10-year mission in mind. When the stooped old man reached the giant boulder, he raised his eyelids and swept Suyu and the others with an indifferent gaze. The elegant Spirit Mountains mission. However, he knew Suyu and the others' objective. Suyu nodded and said, "That's right. Elder, please assign me the mission." The hunchbacked old man cast a glance at Suyu, then casually took out a snow-white centipede from his sleeve and threw it at Suyu. This is a white species of the black and white ice centipede. Take it to the elegant Spirit Mountain and hand it over to the manor's master. He will surely arrange a mission for you. However, Suyu understood the function of this object. The eggs of the black and white eye centipedes would give birth to a male and a female centipede at the same time. The white centipede was the female, and the black centipede was the male. Both of them came from the same source, so they could sense each other. This kind of spirit insect was used as a keepsake. When two kinds of centipedes came into contact with each other, there would be a reaction. As long as Suyu took the centipede and went to the elegant spirit mountain, then came into contact with someone's black centipede, it would prove that Suyu had come from the sanctum and was carrying out a special mission. Thank you, Elder. Suyu cupped his fists and left the faction with the others. Before he left, Suyu turned his head around and took a look at the hunchbacked old man, his eyes flickering. After Suyu left, the hunchbacked old man shook his sleeves and a bee flew out of them. It streaked through the air and flew toward the fairy confining forest. The elegant spirit mountain was 5 days' journey from the outer sanctum, and it was located in the depths of the fairy confining forest. There were many dangers along the way, but they were accompanied by an inner sanctum's divine master disciple for demons and Zixien, who was in the dark. As long as the demonic beasts in the forest had eyes, they wouldn't run into them. Thus, they were safe and sound on the way. Junior brother Su, you really have a great entourage. You have 4 demons. Oh no, if you count yourself, you will have 5 demons. As Xueqi walked over, her alluring fragrance assaulted Suyu's nostrils. She wore a smile on her face as she looked at Suyu. Suyu subconsciously kept some distance from her, then asked, Senior Sister Xueqi, you are more than equal to the 5 of us. So, why do you need to talk about such a great entourage? As he spoke, Suyu stroked his chin and asked, Senior Sister, I'm really curious. Why do you insist on going to the elegant spirit mountain? It seems like you don't care about 10 or 20,000 merit points, do you? Xueqi smiled, her eyes narrowing into slits. Do you want to know? As long as you pay me a high enough price, I will tell you. Suyu shrugged his shoulders. He was well aware of this woman's two-faced nature, so he didn't reply to her. Humph. You vixen. You are just pretending to be mysterious and trying to seduce our Yuxian. You won't be able to do it. Tian Renyao flew over and inserted himself between them. He then pulled Suyu's arm and spoke coquettishly. Suyu's whole body shuddered as he skillfully dodged Tian Renyao's pull. Tian Renyao didn't care about it at all. Instead, he intimately came over to him and revealed a faint smile. Yuxian, don't pay attention to that vixen. I will tell you everything you want to know. Suyu got goosebumps all over his body, so he quickly dodged him and went to Bang Wuxin's side. Tian Renyao didn't give up, so he continued chasing after him. That's enough. Just travel calmly, Bing Wuxin said expressionlessly. Junior brother, you don't know about this, but something happened in the elegant spirit mountain recently. Some inner sanctum's disciples got news of it, and they all tried to find a way to go there. Bai Shanliang coughed, then spouted a mouthful of blood. Suyu's heart tightened. Situation? Please enlighten me, senior brother. I wouldn't dare to teach you. Actually, this matter has already spread throughout the inner sect. Bai Shanliang's pale complexion became slightly grave. It's said that ghosts have been causing trouble in elegant Spirit Mountain for the past 6 months. Disciples and demonic beasts raised by them often go missing while carrying out missions. Not even their corpses or bones were left behind. 99% of those who can carry out missions in the elegant Spirit Mountain are inner court disciples. Thus, the inner court disciples have long since spread the news. Only the outer court disciples know nothing about it. Bai Shanliang said, many factions in the inner sanctum are suspicious of each other, and they all think that they're the culprits. That's why they've sent investigators to infiltrate the inner sanctum and investigate in secret. This senior sister, Xueqi, should be an investigator sent by her faction. Upon hearing this, Suyu's brows relaxed slightly. He had assumed that this was just Xiao Yueming's scheme. But since it had started half a year ago, it was obvious that there was something fishy going on. Although Bai Shanliang didn't say it clearly, so you could understand his underlying meaning. Those who had gone missing were all inner sanctum disciples, and there were many divine master experts among them. Even a divine master had disappeared without a corpse remaining. This was no small matter. However, since Su Yu didn't need to fear any evil spirits, he knew that he had to deal with them. They traveled for 5 days straight before they finally reached a wondrous region. There were many mountain ranges there, and they seemed like layers upon layers of ocean waves. They extended to the horizon, and they gave off a stifling and depressing feeling. Moreover, the spiritual energy in this region was quite special, so one could always feel a faintly discernible gloomy air current lingering in the surroundings. As they looked at the mountain ranges below them, they discovered that they were all dark green, which gave them a gloomy feeling. This was once the battlefield of the human clan and the ghost clan, and many ghost clan members' corpses are buried beneath these mountains. 100 years ago, this place was just a barren land filled with ghostly energy, and it was only several dozen years ago that the ghostly energy gradually dissipated. It was only then that the Red Blood Palace managed to develop this land. However, as the ghostly energy permeated this land for 100 years, it became quite eerie, Bai Shanliang explained. It seemed like he was quite familiar with this region. Su Yu swept his gaze over the land below him. Since Zixian was here, he didn't dare to use his soul eyes to investigate the depths of the land. So, he just followed them into the depths of the boundless, dark green mountain range. After flying for an unknown amount of miles, they suddenly arrived at a plain, which was overflowing with greenery and had a refreshing spiritual energy. If one looked at it from above, it seemed like a circular jade ring was floating amidst the boundless ocean waves. This is the elegant spirit manor which was established by our Red Blood Palace. We dug out 100 great mountains to create it, and a large number of precious spiritual plants are planted in the vicinity of the manor. This is why many of the sanctum's top experts are guarding it. You must all bear in mind that you mustn't cause any trouble, and that you must abide by the rules of this place. Otherwise, the guards will kill you first and report to you later, Bai Shanliang warned them. The group of people nodded and landed on the plain. Before they even landed, a group of 9 people flew over. The leader of this group was a divine master expert, who was just the captain of a small patrol team. "Who are you?" the captain berated him. Su Yu took out the black and white ice centipede's white seed. Upon seeing it, the captain's expression became more reserved. "Fine, follow me. Pay your respects to the manor master." It seemed like the captain was leading the way, but he was actually monitoring them. Soon, Su Yu and the others reached the manor. When they just entered the manor, Su Yu felt at least 10 divine masters' gazes sweep over them. Su Yu and the others entered a side hall while being closely monitored. "Wait here for a while. The manor master will come here shortly." After the captain spoke, he immediately went to inform the manor master. After a short while, an awe-inspiring middle-aged man, who wore a purple gold crown, came over. He was followed by 9 divine master old men with different cultivations. "Greetings, Manor Master Zhang." Xueqi poked Su Yu's arm and greeted him. Su Yu and the others greeted him one after another. "Greetings, Manor Master Zhang." However, just as they lowered their heads, a gentle force lifted them up. When they raised their heads, they saw that the middle-aged man was slowly lowering his right foot. As he raised his foot, he controlled the gentle power and helped everyone up. This man's control over his power was truly miraculous. When Su Yu examined his cultivation, he could only say that he was unfathomable. He was like the outer sanctum's young palace mistress Kong Chan, who was like an abyss that was difficult to probe. Moreover, there were 9 divine master old men at the early or middle stage beside him. Just this lineup alone could rival a quarter of the outer sanctum's power. This was especially the case with Manor Master Zhang overseeing this place. Even the other 16 factions wouldn't be able to contend against the elegant spirit manner unless they used all of their faction's power. You may dispense with the formalities. You are all outstanding talents of the outer sanctum, and we will sooner or later become peers. So, there is no need for such formalities. Manor Master Zhang was quite polite. Su Yu was the outer sanctum's top scorer, and his future achievements would be limitless. The 4 demons he had brought with him were all level 9 fairies, and they were just a step away from becoming divine masters. In fact, it was rumored that they were all suppressing their cultivations in order to wait for an opportunity. Otherwise, they would have already become divine masters. Manor Master Zhang, this is our token. Su Yu took out the white centipede and handed it to him. Manor Master Zhang's gaze fell upon Su Yu. In an instant, Su Yu felt like his whole body was being seen through, and he was startled. So powerful. This was the only feeling Su Yu had in his heart. Apart from all creation old monsters, no one had ever made him feel so oppressed. Even Palace Mistress Chan wasn't this powerful. Not bad. I heard that you managed to reach the 50th layer when you first tried to leap over the Dragon Gate. Now that I have seen you, it seems like you really are a heavenly phenomenon, Manor Master Zhang said. Su Yu understood that Manor Master Zhang was referring to his old appearance, which was a heavenly phenomenon. Manor Master Zhang, you are overpraising me. I was just lucky, Su Yu replied modestly. Manor Master Zhang chuckled and shook his head. Luck isn't allowed in the carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. You will surely have great achievements in the future. As he spoke, Manor Master Zhang took the white centipede and swept it with his gaze. He then took out a black centipede. When they came into contact with each other, the 2 centipedes' bodies emitted a rainbow-like radiance. It's a black and white ice centipede which came from the same egg. It's a token, Manor Master Zhang said. I will arrange a region for you to develop. Jiuwen, give me the map. A bald, middle-stage divine master realm old man, who looked like a monk, took out an ancient scroll from his sleeves and unfurled it in front of everyone. It was the map that Su Yu had seen from the sky. Jiuwen, where is the most suitable region for development? Leave it to them. It isn't easy for outer sanctum disciples to come here, so you must find a good region. Manor Master Zhang took good care of them. Jiuwen swept the area with her gaze and looked at the westernmost region. Manor Master, the soil around the 18-linked mountains is very fertile and loose, so it's suitable for outer sanctum disciples to develop it. As for the rest of the wasteland, its soil is very hard, and only a divine master realm's cultivation can break it, Jiuwen said. Manor Master Zhang looked at Su Yu and the others and said, I will leave the 18-linked mountains to you. You only have 3 days, so how much land you can develop will depend on how hard you work. The merit points you will get in the end will depend on how much land you develop. Of course, if you manage to dig out any important treasures, you can also exchange them for merit points. All of them gladly accepted such an arrangement. Fine, this is the map, so you can take it. A camp has been prepared in the 18-linked mountains, as well as all the necessary supplies and resting places. You can go there now. Also, there is a new batch of Inner Sanctum disciples there, who will also carry out a development mission. So, you must get along well with each other, Manor Master Zhang said. Su Yu and the others cupped their fists at him to thank him, then respectfully sent him off. Tian Renyao's eyes flickered as he looked at Manor Master Zhang's departing back. He then said in a sweet voice, Oh, Manor Master Zhang is really handsome. Just looking at him makes my heart thump. When she saw Su Yu out of the corner of her eye, she replied shyly, Of course, the most manly one is still our Yuxian. No one can compare to her. Su Yu felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't understand why Tian Renyao was interested in him. He had an old body, and his appearance was far from being as charming as those handsome youths. Well, it seems like Manor Master Zhang isn't bad. Gongsun Wuxia rolled her eyes as she asked, but isn't he treating us a bit too well? She was the Eastern heretic, and she was the one who played pranks on people. There is indeed an issue, Xueqi, who had been frowning all this while, said in a deep voice. Bai Shanliang lowered his head and pondered this matter. His expression became solemn as he said, "That's right, there is indeed an issue." The two of them exchanged a glance. Then Bai Shanliang turned to look at Suyu and said solemnly, "I think that we must be careful. The 18 linked mountains that Manor Master Zhang arranged for us isn't a safe place. In fact, it's the most dangerous region in the past half a year." Suyu furrowed his brows slightly, then asked, "Are you saying that many people went missing in the 18 linked mountains in the past half a year?" Chapter 801. Xueqi nodded and said, "As expected of the leader of the 4 great demons. Most of the Inner Sanctum's disciples don't know this secret information, yet you know it in such detail. In fact, judging from everyone's expressions, apart from Su Yu and Zixian, the 4 demons were well aware of this. Their eyes and ears in the inner sect were very well informed." Gong San Wuxia gnashed her teeth and brandished her delicate fists. This villain Master Zhang actually sent us outer sect disciples there. I'm going to poison him to death. Brother Shanliang, give me your heaven poison and earth poison. I'm going to poison this guy to death." Bai Shanliang smiled warmly like the boy next door. "Wu Xia, you're being naughty again. Your brother's name has the word kind in it. How can I refine poison?" Xueqi raised her brows and moved back. She maintained a distance of 6 feet from Bai Shanliang and clicked her tongue in wonder. "Are you the leader of the 4 great demons, Bai Shanliang? It's said that your method of refining poisons has reached the point of perfection. Many divine masters and old monsters who dabble in this path are far inferior to you." Gong San Wuxia crossed her arms in front of her chest and raised her neck slightly. "That's right. Brother Shanliang can even poison a late-stage divine master to death. He's really powerful. Brother Shanliang, hurry up and give it to me. I'll go and poison this hateful guy to death." Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Suyu was slightly startled. He knew that Bai Shanliang's reputation as a drug addict wasn't just for show, but he didn't know that his poison refining technique was so superb that he could even poison a late-stage divine master to death. What kind of terrifying poison was that? Cough, cough. Ugh. Bai Shanliang coughed twice heavily and spat out a column of blood from his mouth. His expression quickly weakened, and he said weakly, "How can my frail body withstand the ravages of poison? Haha, Wu Xie, don't mess around." Wu Xie wrinkled her fleshy nose and bared her teeth. She stretched out her small palm and said, "Then give me another bottle of 9 heavens earth extinguishing diarrhea powder. Even if the poison doesn't kill him, it'll still make him die of diarrhea." The corners of Bai Shanliang's mouth twitched. "I only gave you 2. Lao AI, you used 1. Where's the other one?" Wu Xia averted her eyes and muttered, "Petty." For some unknown reason, Suyu had a vague feeling that Wu Xia had just brushed past him. This was the second time the little demon had peeked at him. Suyu immediately became vigilant. Could it be that he intends to use the other portion of the 9 heavens earth extinction diarrhea powder on me? At this moment, Bing Wuxin said expressionlessly, "It's still too early to make a conclusion. It is true that there have been cases of people disappearing in the 18 linked mountains, but from the looks of it, there aren't many of them. Manor Master Zhang might not have intentionally harmed us. We only have 3 days. How much wasteland we can reclaim and how many useful items we can find will depend on our luck. There's no time to lose. Let's head to the 18 linked mountains first." Everyone nodded. Although it was dangerous, if they could return safely, their gains would be great. The group left the mansion and headed for the tent. The tents were located at the outermost area of the elegant Spirit Mountain Village. Looking from the sky, they were at the edge of the ring. Taking a step forward was an endless stretch of barren mountains. Among them, there were 18 pitch-black mountain peaks that were connected in a line. They were even more sinister than the dark green mountain peaks, giving off an oppressive feeling. An ominous mountain peak. Xueqi furrowed her brows as she looked at the 18 black mountains. The 18 linked mountains are more dangerous than the other mountains. Everyone, you must be careful when digging. Bai Shanliang furrowed his brows slightly. That's right. There is a faint poisonous gas in the air, and it has a corrosive aura. So, there must be an extremely poisonous object in the vicinity. We should really be careful. I have some antidote pills here, and they should be able to deal with the poisonous gas. He gave each of them a pure, white, crystalline pill. After they inhaled a mouthful of it, they felt refreshed, and the uncomfortable feeling disappeared. The condensing fragrance crystal moon pill, which is rarely seen even in the inner sanctum. Xueqi's eyes lit up. It's an antidote treasure that can't be bought even with 1,000 merit points. I didn't expect that West Poison wasn't just proficient in refining poisons. He was also proficient in detoxifying poisons. Bai Shanliang waved his hand disapprovingly. Since he's proficient in refining poisons, he's also proficient in detoxifying poisons. The two are related, so there's nothing surprising about it. As he spoke, Bai Shanliang added, "Everyone make your own preparations. Once you're done, you can enter the 18 linked mountains. Otherwise, if you run into danger in a hurry, the gains won't make up for the losses." Everyone felt danger, so they all went back to their tents. The tents were separated, and they weren't spacious. They were only suitable for resting. However, the tents all had a soundproof barrier, so it would be difficult for anyone from the outside to spy on the situation inside. Su Yu sat down cross-legged, and his gaze flickered. "You can come out now." Swoosh! As the 9 jade spiritual pearl flickered, a cute loli, who was wearing a pink dress, appeared. Her exquisite face was filled with amazement as she looked around in surprise. Her eyes were filled with shock as she cried out involuntarily, "This spiritual energy isn't from the Jinlong world!" Su Yu nodded calmly. "That's right. I've already reached Jiuzhou." The little loli was obviously Shengge. In an instant, Shengji's gaze became resplendent, and it shone with an ecstatic light. She had finally returned to Jiuzhou after waiting for so long. However, she was aware of her current situation. So after she calmed down, she stood in front of Su Yu and waited for his instructions. "Tell me, what did you just discover?" Su Yu asked bluntly. When Su Yu had met Manor Master Zhang, Shengge, who was in the 9 jade spiritual pearl, had sent out a weak consciousness to warn Su Yu. Shengji's expression became solemn, and she said in a grave voice, "Master, I just detected the aura of my kind." "Same kind?" Su Yu's eyes flickered. "Are you saying that the ghost clan exists?" "Yes, the ghost clan is much more sensitive to the aura of our own kind than humans. Furthermore, I'm also quite special. I've cultivated the ghost realm's cultivation method to sense auras, so my perception is far better than that of ordinary ghost clan members. Perhaps the ghost clan members near Master can't sense me in the 9 jade spiritual pearl, but I've already sensed his existence. He actually came into close contact with the ghost race. From the time that Shengge had reminded him of, it was time to meet with Manor Lord Zhang. In other words, between Villa Master Zhang and the 9 elders, there was a ghost. Thinking back to 100 years ago, the invasion of the ghost realm almost caused the extinction of the human race in the 9 states. The two sides could be said to be incompatible like fire and water. If news of the ghost race sneaking into Elegant Spirit Mountain traveled back to the sect, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Perhaps it would become a meritorious service, and they would receive a large number of merit points as a reward. Unfortunately, he had no evidence and was unable to explain the reason. "Okay, you should pay attention to his presence at all times. Once he comes close, you must warn me in time," Su Yu said. Shengge nodded. Su Yu took a deep breath. "I will need your help later." If you can help me more, you will also benefit from it. 2 hours later, the group of 7 people gathered together once again. Zixian tilted her head and moved closer to Suyu's ear. Can we find Suyu here? It doesn't seem like it. Suyu replied sheepishly, You should just search patiently. You might end up with an unexpected harvest. Fine. I hope that we can quickly find that guy, as I don't have much time left, Zixian said earnestly. Swoosh! The group of 7 people entered the 18 linked mountains, each of them in charge of a mountain. Their goal was to excavate all 10 mountains and open up a plain. Suyu held the heavenly orchid, silver, bamboo golden sword in his hand as he flew to the top of the mountain. Thump! Thump! A series of muffled sounds echoed, and it felt like he was stepping on a lump of iron. When he looked at the mountain's vegetation, he discovered that they were all pitch black, straight, and sturdy. A strong wind whistled on the mountain's peak, causing Suyu's clothes to flutter. However, the vegetation on the mountain didn't move in the slightest, as if they were made of iron. Then he observed them carefully. Suyu discovered that the mountain's peak under his feet had been excavated by someone. This meant that he wasn't the first person to excavate this mountain. Moreover, judging from the excavation marks, it seemed like at least 5 people had excavated it. However, they had only excavated a small mound, which wasn't even a tenth of the whole mountain. Suyu held the small golden sword in his hand and waved it at the ground. Creak! The small golden sword rubbed against the ground, creating a series of sparks. Even though the small golden sword was a semi-manufactured spiritual artifact, it was only able to leave a dent that was half a finger deep in the valley. Suyu was flabbergasted by this, as he knew that if he continued waving his sword at the ground, he would have to wait for a long time before he could completely excavate the whole mountain. Moreover, it would be impossible for him to obtain the treasures left behind by the great battle between humans and ghosts. Suyu pondered this for a moment, then called out to Shenge. Is the reason why this place's environment has become like this because of the great battle between humans and ghosts? When Shenge appeared, she looked at the ground under her feet in amazement and clicked her tongue in wonder. Well, this mountain is somewhat strange, as it seems like it contains our ghost clan's all-creation realm's blood essence. His blood essence watered the mountain's peak, causing it to become extremely sturdy. It would be difficult to shake it unless one used a spiritual artifact. An all-creation realm ghost? Suyu's eyes flickered slightly as he looked at the 18 mountains. He couldn't help but recall the past when an injured, all-creation realm ghost's blood sprinkled on this place, causing the 18 mountains to transform and become as sturdy as steel. If I wanted to excavate this mountain, wouldn't it be as difficult as ascending to heaven? Suyu asked. Shenge wanted to say something, but she hesitated for a moment before she said, Master, if you trust me, you can absorb the ghost's blood essence in the mountain. This way, the mountain will soften, and it will be easier for you to excavate it. Suyu looked at her and nodded. Go ahead and try it. If you don't trust me, don't use me. Since I called you out, I will let you do as you wish. Shenge was delighted, and she looked at the black mountain with delight written all over her face. Swoosh! Ghost energy engulfed Shangji's body as she drilled into the mountain. Soon after, the small patch of soil under Suyu's feet turned from black to dark blue at a speed that could be observed by the naked eye. Suyu casually waved his sword at it, cutting off a mountain that was as big as a palm. As Suyu relaxed, he commanded the 3 small golden swords at the same time, and they quickly cut off the mountain. After 2 hours had passed, 1% of the whole mountain had been shaved off, and it had become slightly shorter. At this moment, Shenge, who was softening the soil, suddenly transmitted her voice to Suyu. Master, there's something down there. Suyu's heart thumped, and he sped up. After a cup of tea's time, when he had shaved off a large piece of rock, he found a broken black bone claw, which was tightly grasping a small, tattered drum. The two sides of the drum were carved with ferocious beast heads, which gave off an ominous feeling. When Suyu picked it up, he felt his hair stand on end, and he felt extremely uncomfortable. This is a ghost artifact of the Ghost Clan, and it's a spiritual artifact. It's called the Human Skin Drum, and it was made from the top of a human fairy realm expert's head. Shengge said carefully as she looked at Suyu. Suyu's gaze became slightly ice-cold. They were really a cruel clan. He recalled the little ghost he had met in the mysterious Heavenly Divine Pavilion and the evil Ghost Valley. It was also a cruel and bloodthirsty demon. Killing it back then had been the right decision. Chapter 802. With Shang-Ji's help, Suyu felt as if he was being assisted by a god. When night fell, he had already excavated 30% of the mountain. If he was given another 2 days, he would be able to level the whole mountain easily. Phew! Suyu let out a long breath, while beads of sweat appeared on his pale face. His back was also drenched in sweat. Using the 3 small golden swords to excavate the mountain consumed a lot of his energy. The vital energy in his inner and outer dantians had been completely used up. Buzz! Xinggu came out of the ground. Her whole body was covered in black sludge, which covered her lovely body. However, it still couldn't conceal the delight on her face. A level 2 fairy? It seems like you have obtained great benefits. Suyu was slightly surprised. Xinggu replied excitedly, Master, many thanks for your reward. The All-Creation Ghost's blood essence is quite beneficial to me, as it helped me break through my bottleneck. If I can absorb the whole mountain's blood essence, I should be able to advance to the level 3 fairy realm. Any part of the All-Creation Ghost's body was like a divine treasure to a fairy. A single drop of blood essence was enough to kill an early-stage fairy. You deserve it. Now, tell me, what else did you find down there? Suyu asked. After excavating 1/3 of the mountain, Suyu had already obtained a large number of damaged items left behind by the Ghost Clan and the Human Clan. Moreover, the deeper he went, the more ancient items he found. Suyu had already obtained 4 damaged items from the Ghost Clan and 3 defective items from the Human Clan. There were books, magical treasures, and talismans. There were also some items that were extremely rotten, which Suyu threw away. He only kept some treasures that still had a spiritual nature. I can feel that there are more items with ghost energy fluctuations down there. If I excavate them all, I should be able to find at least 10 to 20 Ghost Clan's items. However, I can't find out what kind of items they are. Shengge licked her lips excitedly. Even though she didn't have any Ghost Clan's treasures, if she could find something suitable for her, and Suyu was willing to give it to her, her power would surely increase greatly. Suyu's eyes lit up. 10 to 20 Ghost Clan's items? Those were just Ghost Clan's items. There were also Human Clan's items that she couldn't sense, so she guessed that there were at least 20 of them. If he excavated all of them, it would be a great merit. With a glimmer of anticipation in his eyes, Suyu put Shanggu away, shook his clothes, and returned to his tent in the twilight. What he did not know was that after he left, 2 young and slender figures with extremely powerful auras descended on the mountain peak. Is that the kid that Big Brother Shao wants us to deal with? He seems to have some ability. Even a tough bone like the 18 Link Mountains was cut down by a third by him. It's really incredible, the figure on the left said solemnly. The person on the right lowered his head and looked at the foot of the mountain. He then curled up the corners of his mouth and said, Only then would he be worthy of us attacking him. At first, I assumed that he was really just a fairy realm expert, and I was somewhat unwilling to trouble him by traveling such a long distance just to kill him. But it seems like it isn't completely pointless. At least, we can interrogate him and uncover the 18 linked mountain secrets. The astonishing treasures hidden beneath these 18 mountains were no longer a secret. It's just that no one can easily excavate it. A gust of wind blew past, and the 2 figures bathed in the light of the setting sun disappeared like the wind. When he returned to his tent, the 4 demons, Zixian and Xueqi, had already returned. Zixian was untainted by even a speck of dust, and her hands were empty. She was sitting on the ground, lost in her thoughts. It seemed like she hadn't started excavating the Black Mountain. As for Xueqi, although she looked travel-worn, she had already stated that she had come here to investigate the disappearance case. So, she probably wasn't interested in excavating the Black Mountain. Only the 4 demons were exhausted to varying degrees. Brother Shanliang, did you dig out a treasure? Gongsun Wuxia's long and curly eyelashes were like a pair of big cattail leaf fans. Bai Shanliang coughed dryly, smiled, and didn't reply. It wasn't appropriate for him to announce it before the end. Tian Renyao's eyes flickered, and he moved his but closer to Bai Shanliang. He then rubbed his head against Bai Shanliang's chest and said coquettishly, "Brother Shanliang, tell me, I like you the most." Wah! Bai Shanliang's face turned pale, and he spouted a mouthful of blood. Goosebumps appeared all over his body, and he quickly moved aside. "Don't! Can't I tell you? It's nothing much, as it's just a white bone whip that was once used by the Ghost Clan." As he spoke, Bai Shanliang took out a broken, snow-white bone whip from his sleeves. Judging from its grade, it was originally a spiritual artifact, but it's a pity that it was damaged. Now, it can only be compared to a semi-manufactured spiritual artifact. Bai Shanliang felt that it was a pity. According to the Manor's exchange rules, the Ghost Clan's items have important research significance, so they are worth quite a lot. This semi-manufactured spiritual artifact can be exchanged for 3,000 merit points. Envy appeared on the faces of the other 3 demons when they heard him. Bai Shanliang shook his head. "I was just lucky as I managed to get one on the first day. I don't know whether I will be able to find more in the next 2 days. I might not even be able to get back the 10,000 merit points I spent." Bai Shanliang's eyes flickered as he said with a smile, "Since I've already shown you what I got today, why don't you all show it to me? We don't compete with each other, so it won't be a bad thing for us to get to know each other." When he heard this, Tian Renyao glanced at Su Yu and cast him a flirtatious glance. "Brother Yuxian, do you want to know?" Su Yu felt a chill run down his spine, and he shook his head repeatedly. Gongsun Wuxia chuckled. "I want to know." Tian Renyao looked at Su Yu with a pitiful expression and said, "Brother Yuxian, do you dislike me so much? I'm really infatuated with you. If you want to take it, then take it. If you speak another word, I will cut off your tongue." Bing Wuxin furrowed her brows and reprimanded him. Tian Renyao glared at Bing Wuxin with resentment, but he was still afraid of her murderous aura. He said resentfully, "I will take it." Clang! A melodious metallic sound echoed, and a Vajra scepter, which only had half of it left, fell on the ground. Even though it was very old, and the Vajra scepter was filled with signs of decay, it still emitted a shocking Buddhist nature. A precious Buddhist treasure? The 3 of them cried out in alarm. They were all quite surprised. Bing Wuxin said, "The Buddhist path is quite rare in the Central Prefecture and the 18 Blessed and Heavenly Lands. It's only during the Great War between humans and ghosts 100 years ago, when the human race was on the brink of extinction, that Buddhist cultivators appeared in the world and fought against the Ghost Clan. Most of the Buddhist cultivators died, and the rest of them lived in seclusion. It's said that the Buddhist path's magical treasures are quite effective against the Ghost Clan, and the Sanctum is quite interested in them." She then added, "Although this Vajra scepter has lost a great deal of its spiritual nature and isn't even as good as a semi-manufactured spiritual artifact, its value is probably the same as the white bone whip," Bing Wuxin said. Tian Renyao grabbed the Vajra scepter and rubbed it against his face. "This is my treasure, and I dug it out by accident. So, you mustn't snatch it from me." 2 people had dug out treasures in succession, and the only ones left were Bing Wuxin, Gongsun Wuxia, and Su Yu. "I didn't." Bing Wuxin shook her head bluntly. A fifth of this mountain was chopped off by me, and even half of the human race's treasures are missing. Although her tone was calm, it was obvious that she was quite angry. Su Yu had dug out a third of the mountain, which meant that he had 7 of the human race's and ghost race's treasures. However, Bing Wuxin had dug out a fifth of the mountain, which was equivalent to half of what Su Yu had dug out. Su Yu couldn't help but be surprised by this. It was only because he had Shengji's help that he had managed to dig out a third of the mountain as easily as if he was cutting mud. Yet, Bing Wuxin had managed to dig out a fifth of the mountain all by herself. It could be seen from this that she was quite skilled, and she must have hidden tricks up her sleeves. Next was Gong Sun Wuxia, and everyone's gazes looked at the little demoness. The little demoness pouted and tears welled up in her eyes as she threw herself into Bing Wuxin's embrace. Her face was filled with grief and bitterness as she said, "Sister Wuxin, we are both in the same boat. I dug for a whole day, but my hand trembled and broke it. I don't believe it, and it must have been that old manor Master Zhang who did something to it. I want to poison him to death 10,000 times." When the crowd saw Gong Sun Wuxia clenching her small fists angrily, they couldn't help but laugh inwardly. Even this little demoness would have such a day. If anyone dares to laugh at me, I will poison him to death tonight. The little demoness seemed to have sensed their laughter, and she raised her head fiercely as she bared her fangs and brandished her claws. Shortly after, her purple eyeballs rolled, and she smiled through her tears as she looked at Bai Shanliang. "Brother Shanliang, you love me the most, so can you give me half of the white bone whip?" Bai Shanliang shook his head and said, "That won't do, as I'm depending on this guy to make a comeback." "Humph." The little demoness bared her teeth and said, "Tomorrow I will steal everything from your poison refinery room." Bai Shanliang turned a deaf ear to her, and he just paid no attention to her, as if he was an old monk. You are infuriating me." The little demoness looked at Tian Renyao angrily and asked, "What about you?" Tian Renyao rolled his eyes at her and snorted delicately. "My heart belongs only to Brother Yuxian, and I am only willing to give it to him." "Wow, you are infuriating me. Tomorrow I will surely eat the whole mountain and see whether I can spit out a few treasures." The little demoness swore fiercely. The Demon Mountain's accomplishments on this day were quite impressive, as they had managed to dig out 2 great treasures on the first day. "Fine, let's go to the manor and quickly exchange the treasures we dug out. We don't want any accidents to happen," Bai Shanliang said as he stood up. The Ghost Clan's treasures had been buried underground for many years, and now that they had seen the light of day again, they would surely decay even faster. They would need to hand them over to the sanctum, which would use a special method to store them. When the crowd was just about to stand up, Xueqi was startled. "Aren't you going to take a look at Yao Wushang? Isn't he also part of your demon mountain?" The 4 demons were startled. They didn't forget about Su Yu, as they had personally gone to the 18 linked mountains, and they were clearly aware of how hard these mountains were. They were afraid that Su Yu's level 2 fairy realm cultivation wouldn't be able to go through them. This was why they didn't ask Su Yu about it, as they didn't want him to feel embarrassed and inferior among this group of experts. However, since Xueqi had brought it up on her own accord, they could only ask her about it. "Junior brother Su, how was your luck? Did you dig out a single treasure?" Bai Shanliang asked Su Yu. The other 3 demons also wore indifferent expressions as they waited for Su Yu's reply. "1 treasure?" Su Yu rubbed his nose. It seemed like there was more than one. Chapter 803. 2. The 4 demons were startled. They had never expected that Su Yu, who they had underestimated the most, would manage to dig out 2 of them. For pairs of eyes shot towards Su Yu's left and right hands like sharp arrows. The 4 of them frowned slightly when they saw the human skin drum. They could feel the reek of blood coming from it. However, there was no doubt that it was a semi-manufactured spiritual artifact and was not inferior to Bai Shanliang's white bone whip. As for the broken sword, when it was complete, it was also a spiritual artifact. Now that it was damaged, it had fallen to the level of a semi-manufactured spiritual artifact. Hiss, junior brother's luck is really enviable. Bai Shanliang couldn't help but laugh. Let's not talk about the Ghost Clan's magical artifacts, which are worth at least 3,000 merit points, and that broken sword also seems to have some history. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the Red Blood Palace's famous long-arm Tai Luo's long dragon sword from 100 years ago. This sword can be extended at will, and it's quite strange. Long-arm Tai Luo relied on this sword to run amok in the 18 blessed and heavenly lands. 100 years ago, during the Great War between humans and ghosts, he killed innumerable ghost clan members. If we return this broken sword to the sect, the reward will not be less than 4,000 merit points. In other words, Suyu would get a reward of 7,000 merit points on the first day. Not only was Gongsun Wushia's eyes burning with flames, but even Bing Wuxin was surprised by Suyu's luck. Bai Shanliang stood up and said, "Let's go to the villa together. Let's finish the exchange as soon as possible and come back early to rest." Gongsun Wuxia rolled her eyes. "I'll go too. I want to see what treasures those inner sanctum disciples have unearthed." Bing Wuxin frowned. "I'll go and have a look too." "Me too." In the end, Zi Xian also stood up and followed them. She wouldn't let go of any opportunity to search for Suyu. However, it was a pity that she didn't know that Suyu was right beside her. Suyu looked at Xueqi and asked, "What about you?" Xueqi shook her head. She didn't seem interested at all. "I'll pass. You guys can go." All of a sudden, Xueqi looked at Suyu and said, "If you run into the inner sanctum's people, it would be best if you don't start a conflict with them. According to what I know, 2 of the 7 people who came here have an ambiguous relationship with the Shao family, so you shouldn't give them any excuses to cause trouble for you." Su Yu's heart shuddered and he wondered, Shao Yueming has really arranged for people to come here? Moreover, they were 2 inner sanctum disciples. In other words, it was very likely that they were 2 almighty divine masters. To Su Yu, such a powerful lineup was indeed a deadly trap. What should come had finally come. Su Yu's eyes shone brightly as he glanced at Zishuan. "Okay, you stay in the tent alone. Remember to be careful," Su Yu said. Xueqi rolled her eyes at him. "Just worry about yourself. I don't need you to worry about me." Su Yu shrugged his shoulders, then quickly rushed toward the villa with the 4 demons. There were people from the sect stationed in the village, who were responsible for inspecting treasures and exchanging them for merit points. When they arrived, there was already a bustling crowd. A rough count put the number at no less than 100, and all of them were members of the sects that had been stationed here for a long time and were in charge of excavating. However, they were in charge of excavating, so they couldn't exchange merit points for them like Su Yu and the others. They could only exchange them for ordinary cultivation resources. Otherwise, the merit points they had accumulated over the years wouldn't even be comparable to the inner sanctum's elders. As Su Yu swept the crowd with his gaze, he noticed a deserted counter, which was occupied by a serious-looking, middle-aged man. He seemed like he wasn't easy to get along with. "He's there. Let's go over there." Su Yu led the way toward the man. However, all of a sudden, a group of powerful auras engulfed the area, startling the expressions of the 100 people present. Just after that, 7 people strode out of the crowd and stood in front of the middle-aged man. The person at the front was a beautiful young woman who was dressed in colorful clothes. She was 28 years old, had a sweet and gentle temperament, and had a pretty face. She was probably the person who had gotten the right to enter the elegant Spirit Mountain, and the 6 people behind her were the people who had brought her here. "Senior, we are here to exchange for today's excavated items. Please take a look at them," the young woman said in a gentle voice. She wore a respectful expression as she placed 9 magical treasures on the table in front of the middle-aged man. When Suyu took a look at them, he discovered that most of them were rotten objects that were on the verge of being destroyed. He had already thrown away many of such objects. The middle-aged shopkeeper's expression didn't change, and he didn't even spare them a glance. He just lowered his head and looked at the objects on the table, then stroked them one by one. The first object has lost all of its spiritual nature. Clang! The middle-aged shopkeeper flicked his finger and flicked the broken array flag onto the ground. He didn't give them any face at all. They were all inner sanctum disciples, and all of them were important people in the Red Blood Palace. Yet they were still treated coldly by the middle-aged shopkeeper. The multicolored young woman and the others couldn't help but feel embarrassed. The second object is the bloodthirsty sword. It's a defective object, and it's useless. Slap! The third object is trash. The fourth object is barely qualified. 3,000 merit points. It was only at this moment that the expressions of the inner sanctum disciples, who wore unsightly expressions, relaxed slightly. In the end, when the 9th object's examination was completed, the 7 people relaxed slightly. In the end, there were 4 objects that were qualified, and they could be exchanged for 12,000 merit points. Take the merit points. The middle-aged shopkeeper transferred the full amount of merit points to the multicolored young woman. Thank you, Senior. The multicolored young woman revealed a sweet smile. After she spoke, the multicolored young woman turned around and prepared to leave. Senior, Sister Jiu, it seems like the outer sanctum disciples are also here, a tall and slender youth said to the multicolored young woman. When the other 6 people followed his gaze, they all looked over. The multicolored young woman's gaze swept over Suyu and the others curiously. Every month, the inner sanctum would have a mission to explore the elegant Spirit Mountain. But this was the first time the outer sanctum had such a mission. Her gaze lingered on Suyu for a moment before she nodded and revealed a faint smile. She then averted her gaze and prepared to leave. Senior, Sister Jiu, don't you want to see the outer sanctum's people's harvest? Their harvest might be even greater than ours. The youth spoke once again, his tone filled with provocation. Su, you couldn't help but pay attention to this person. And when he met his gaze, he noticed a crafty glint flickering in his eyes. Is he one of the experts sent by Xiao Yueming to end Suyu's life here? The multicolored young woman's heart thumped slightly, and she stopped in her tracks. When Suyu and the others saw that the middle-aged man was still observing them, they could only walk over and display their harvest in front of him. For the multicolored young woman's expression changed slightly. Their cultivations were much lower than theirs, yet they still managed to dig out 7 great treasures. It could be seen from this that their excavation progress was half of theirs. This was especially the case for Suyu, as he had taken out 2 great treasures. Even though his cultivation was obviously the lowest, he had taken out the most great treasures. 2 of the youths among the 7 people looked at each other and saw the greed in each other's eyes. Since Suyu had unexpectedly taken out 2 great treasures, they must surely get their hands on this lad's secret method of excavating the Black Mountain. Whitebone Whip qualified, 3,000 merit points. The middle-aged man's palm swept over it calmly. Vajra Scepter qualified, 3,000 merit points. The middle-aged shopkeeper was indifferent. Then Suyu found the human skin drum, and he calmly said, qualified, 3,000 merit points. In the end, when he stroked the long dragon's sword, his palm stopped moving, and he stared at the sword. Surprise gradually appeared on his calm face, and a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Someone finally managed to dig out the long dragon sword. The middle-aged shopkeeper raised his head and looked at Suyu, then nodded. This treasure is pretty good, and it has great significance, for 1,000 merit points. Such an attitude made the inner sanctum's disciples envious and jealous. This lad's luck was really good, as he had found 2 great treasures by himself. However, what startled them, as well as Bai Shanliang and the others, was that the middle-aged shopkeeper revealed a faint smile and said, "Take out the other 5 treasures and exchange them together." His words caused Su Yu's whole body to shiver, and he couldn't believe what he had just heard. He hadn't taken out those 5 treasures in order to keep a low profile. Yet the middle-aged man in front of him had managed to see through them with a single glance. How did he manage to penetrate the spatial ring? Su Yu couldn't figure it out. However, the inner and outer sanctum's disciples, who were also excavating the 18 linked mountains, were even more shocked than him. There are still 5 more treasures. Gong Sun Wuxia widened her eyes and spoke in surprise. She almost bit her tongue. Bai Shanliang and Tian Renyao were also startled. Bing Wuxin couldn't help but take another look at Su Yu, and she muttered in a low voice, "Freak!" They couldn't understand how Su Yu had managed to find so many treasures. Could it be that he had found a treasure nest, just like how he had dug out a mouse's nest? This news also greatly shocked the 5 colored young women. The great treasures excavated by 7 inner sanctums disciples couldn't rival a trifling early-stage fairy realm cultivator? After being startled for a moment, Su Yu took a deep look at the middle-aged shopkeeper and took out the other 5 treasures. 2 of them belonged to the ghost clan, while the other 3 belonged to the human clan. However, what shocked the colorful young woman even more was that all 5 of the treasures were well preserved, and none of them were decayed items that had been used to make up the numbers. How did he manage to do it? This question reverberated in everyone's mind, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. As for the 2 tall youths in her team, their eyes burned even more fiercely. The middle-aged shopkeeper's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but chuckle as he praised Su Yu. "Wonderful! It's really wonderful. I have seen people with great luck, but it's my first time seeing someone like you, who managed to find 7 treasures in a single day." Just after that, the middle-aged shopkeeper inspected them one by one, and all of them passed. 2 of the ghost clan's treasures were worth 6,000 merit points, while the human clan's treasures weren't special enough, so they were quite cheap. As such, 3 of them were worth only 500 merit points, so Su Yu's total was 6,500 merit points. In addition to the 7,000 merit points from the first 2 treasures, Su Yu had gotten a total of 13,000 merit points on this day. Such a great amount of merit points made everyone's eyes turn red with jealousy. Isn't this guy's luck too good? The colorful young woman's beautiful eyes looked at Su Yu suspiciously. She was slightly gloomy. The 7 of them had worked hard to excavate the treasures, yet they still couldn't compare to an early-stage fairy realm cultivator. "Let's go, and we will continue excavating them tomorrow." The colorful young woman stamped her feet and clenched her teeth. She was prepared to compete with him the next day. After they returned to the camp, the little demoness hugged Su Yu's thigh and looked at him with teary eyes. She then said pitifully, "Brother Yuxian, please pity me and give me some merit points. I already gave my last 10,000 merit points to you in exchange for a quota." Su Yu shook his thigh, but the little demoness was like a plaster that stuck to him tightly. He couldn't shake her off even if he wanted to. The transvestite took advantage of this opportunity to come over and snuggle into Su Yu's bosom. Su Yu's scalp became numb, and he quickly admitted defeat. "Fine, fine. If we excavate enough Ghost Clan's treasures tomorrow, I will give you one." "Brother Yuxian, thank you. I like you the most." The little demoness chuckled as she stood up. She seemed like a fox that had just stolen a chicken. "What about me?" The transvestite spoke resentfully. "You are even willing to accept a little vixen like Wuxia, yet you still don't care about me, even though I am passionately devoted to you." Su Yu kicked him away angrily and rolled his eyes. "Get lost." As for Bai Shanliang, since he had already harvested some treasures today, he didn't feel right asking for more. Only Bing Wuxin looked at Gong Sun Wuxia, then at Su Yu. She didn't say anything. She was Su Yu's lover in name, and everyone in the sanctum was aware of this. Now, Suyu had given Gongsun Wuxia a promise, yet he still didn't care about her. However, Bing Wuxin didn't care about Suyu's feelings. When everyone quieted down, Suyu suddenly realized that something was missing. Suyu raised his brows and asked, "Where is Xueqi? Isn't she in the camp?" It was only when they heard him that the 4 demons realized that she had gone missing. Her goal is different from ours. She came here to investigate the 18 Linked Mountains disappearance case, so she is probably looking for some clues, Tian Renyao said uncertainly. Bai Shanliang's expression became grave. He picked up a handful of dust from the ground and sniffed it. He then said in a deep voice, "An unknown life form came here, and there are poisonous gas left in the soil. It seems like it came from the same source as the corrosive poisonous gas in the air of the 18 Linked Mountains." Everyone's expressions became solemn when they heard him. Xueqi was in danger. The 18 Linked Mountains' mysterious and deadly poisonous creature had come here. It was highly likely that she had suffered a mishap. But what kind of powerful life form could escape the detection of so many divine masters in the manor? What was even more unimaginable was that there weren't any signs of resistance at the scene. There could only be 2 possible explanations for this. Either the attacker was too powerful, and even an early-stage divine master like Xueqi couldn't resist it, or the attacker was someone familiar to Xueqi and caught her off guard. "Let's split up and look for her. We might still be able to make it," Suyu suggested. Bing Wuxin looked at Suyu and asked, "Do you have a deep relationship with her? Since that unknown life form was able to abduct Xueqi, it must be quite powerful. If you run into it alone, you will be in great danger." Her unspoken implication was that Suyu didn't need to look for her. Suyu felt disappointed when he turned his head around and looked at her. He then said calmly, "Even if we don't consider that we are from the same faction, she is still my companion. If I can abandon her today, then I can abandon you tomorrow. So, is there any need for such a small team to exist? Isn't it better for everyone to go their own way?" Xueqi wasn't a bad person, and she had even warned Suyu to be wary of the 2 people from the Shao family's faction in the inner sanctum. So, Suyu didn't have any reason to abandon her. Bing Wuxin was startled by Suyu's scolding. There were few people who dared to speak to her like this, and she felt quite displeased. She then snorted coldly and said, "Did I say that I wouldn't go? I just asked you to stay here and not throw your life away." She then took a large step forward, lifted the tent's flap, and left. Bai Shanliang sighed. "Junior brother, you misunderstood Wuxin. Even though she is heartless, she isn't completely unrighteous. Even if you didn't ask her, she would still have gone to look for Xueqi." Misunderstood? Suyu was quite apologetic. "Fine, let's also set off. There is an unknown danger here, and if we don't deal with it clearly, we will face it at any moment," Bai Shanliang said before he left. Gongsun Wuxia and Tian Renyao also left. In the end, only Suyu and Zixian were left. "Do you need my help?" Zixian asked. Suyu nodded. Zixian tilted her head and said, "Fine, but I won't expose my cultivation. There are 2 people with pretty good cultivations in the manor, and they can probably detect me." Suyu was grateful to her. "Just do what you can and leave the rest to me." After Zixian left, Suyu summoned Shengu. "What did you discover?" Suyu asked quickly. Shengu sniffed the surroundings, then said solemnly, "Master, I can't be mistaken. It's the Ghost Clan's aura that I detected yesterday. It's quite faint, but I can still detect it. It's definitely him." A Ghost Clan. Suyu's heart shuddered. It was unexpectedly a Ghost Clan that captured Xueqi. "Can you detect his direction?" Suyu asked in a grave voice. Shengu furrowed her brows. "It's already been a while, and I'm not sure whether his aura is still there. I can give it a try." Suyu's heart tightened. "Fine, let's quickly chase after him." The direction in which Shengu chased after him was the depths of the 18 Linked Mountains. Chapter 804. After half an hour, Shang-Gu followed the indistinct aura all the way into the depths of the 18-linked mountains. She stopped several times on the way and almost lost track of the aura. It was only when she reached a mountain that she stopped and said, "It's no good. The aura has already disappeared, so I can't continue following it." Su Yu surveyed the surroundings and was surprised to discover that the black mountain in front of him was the one he was responsible for excavating. There isn't even the slightest bit of aura left. Su Yu's heart sank slightly. Shang-Gu nodded. "Yes, I can't detect her aura at all. I could still vaguely detect her on the way here, but it seemed like she disappeared suddenly." Su Yu was worried about Xueqi's safety, so he went around the Black Mountain and observed it carefully. However, he still couldn't find any trace of her. He spent most of the night searching for her. When he went back to the camp, the people who were searching for her came back, one after another. Xueqi was really in danger. Don't be anxious. Xueqi is an inner sanctum disciple and has a divine master realm cultivation, so she should have some means to protect herself. Even if she was kidnapped, she might not be harmed. We can just inform the manor and ask them to send people to search for her. It's better than looking for a needle in a haystack. Bai Shanliang comforted Su Yu. In fact, everyone knew that this was just a low probability. Since the enemy had managed to kidnap Xueqi quietly, it was obvious that they were more powerful than her. Hence, it was unlikely that she would be able to protect herself. Su Yu forced a smile and said, "We can only hope that she isn't harmed before we find her." All he could do was listen to fate and do his best. If he reported this matter, the elegant spirit manor would be alerted, and even the manor master would be alerted. It wasn't a secret in the elegant spirit mountain that many people went missing in the 18-linked mountains. This was a grave matter, so no one dared to report it. That night, the manor master sent 100 people to search the 18-linked mountains, and he also joined them. At night, the 18-linked mountains were brightly lit, as if it was daytime. They busied themselves for the whole night, but still couldn't find Xueqi. The crowd's expressions were solemn, and they were all anxious. This was especially the case for the Sanctum's members, who had been stationed here for a long time. They were all dispirited, and they didn't have the mood to work. "Sirs, the elegant spirit mountain's kneeling gratitude palace has caused mischief, and we have already informed the inner sanctum about it. The sanctum's higher echelons will come here in 2 to 3 days. Moreover, even the palace master will come here to investigate it personally. So, please don't worry. The Red Blood Palace's palace master, Mo Tianxian, is going to come here personally." The dispirited crowd immediately regained their spirits, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Mo Tianxian was a mythical figure in the 18 blessed and heavenly lands. Her all-creations cultivation could shake the 18 domains. If she were to take action personally, she would definitely be able to uncover the mastermind. As for Xueqi's disappearance, you can all set your minds at ease. I've already contacted the inner sanctum, and I learned that her life plate is still there, which means that she's still alive and isn't in any life-threatening danger. So, when the palace master comes here, he will surely be able to save her. The manor master informed Su Yu and the others of this piece of good news. Su Yu relaxed slightly. Is he still alive? The life token was a privilege enjoyed by inner sect disciples. As an inner sect disciple, they would become the focus of the sect's protection. Therefore, the sect was very concerned about their life and death. Inner disciples could leave a drop of their blood essence and inject it into a special token, turning it into a life token. If the disciple died, the life tablet would sense it and shatter. If he was safe and sound, it meant that the disciple was still alive. Upon learning that Xueqi was still alive, Su Yu heaved a long sigh of relief. Now, he just had to wait for the palace master to deal with the 18-linked mountain's ghosts. Thus, everyone returned to work and continued to excavate the Black Mountain. Su Yu also joined them. A third of the Black Mountain had already been excavated, and after a whole day of excavation, only a third of it was left. Such an exaggerated excavation speed was quite shocking. After a whole day of excavation, Suyu had gotten 5 Ghost Clan's items and 6 Human Clan's items. He estimated that he could exchange them for 16,000 merit points. If he finished excavating it the next day, he would get another 16,000 merit points. This way, 100,000 merit points would be more than enough to exchange for the 9 Suns Cosmos sword formation. Splutter! Xingji's face was filled with delight as she came out of the mud. Her body's aura had become slightly stronger, and she wasn't far from the level 3 fairy realm. In fact, she would surely be able to advance into the level 3 fairy realm easily after tomorrow. It seems like you also got a great harvest, Suyu said slowly as he examined her. Xingji's heart shuddered, and she hurriedly lowered her head as she replied obediently, "It was all bestowed upon me by my master." She had been suppressed by Suyu for too long, and fear of him had already taken root in her heart. It was a fear that came from the bottom of her heart, and it was difficult for her to even think of betraying him. "Okay, did you discover anything about the last third of it?" Suyu asked. Her perception of the Ghost Clan's aura was limited by distance, and the closer she was to it, the clearer she could sense it. Now that they had almost reached the bottom of the mountain, Suyu really wanted to know whether there were any treasures hidden there. Shengu asked in confusion, "Master, the Ghost Clan's aura I sensed didn't change much compared to yesterday. There were still around 10 Ghost Clan's aura fluctuations, but the bottom of the mountain seemed somewhat strange." Suyu raised his brows. "Strange? How so?" Shengu replied, "Yesterday we were too far away, so I couldn't sense it. It was only now that I discovered that there was a hidden space at the bottom of the mountain, and the ghost energy fluctuations within it were quite intense. Could it be a powerful Ghost Clan's magical treasure, which was suppressed at the bottom of the mountain?" Suyu's eyes lit up. "You should rest for a while, then continue absorbing it. I'll see whether I can make a narrow passage and enter it." Since he had continuously excavated a large number of magical treasures, people would surely suspect him. So he believed that many people would come to the bottom of the mountain to investigate it. If he entered the bottom of the mountain first, he would miss a precious opportunity. Shengu was also quite interested in the secret space at the bottom of the mountain. "Fine, I will try to absorb a part of the blood essence and soften the soil." After half a cup of tea's time had passed, Shengu drilled into the ground. This time, she didn't need to absorb the rest of the ghost blood in the mountain. She just needed to soften a passage that was wide enough for a person to pass through. After 4 hours had passed, the sky had already turned dark. With Shangji's help, Suyu had managed to make a passage that led to the bottom of the mountain. Suyu cautiously drilled into the ground. When he reached the bottom of the mountain, he discovered that there was a natural cave at the bottom of the Black Mountain. The cave was quite spacious, and it had many pitch-black passages that were intertwined with each other. This made the cave's terrain even more complicated, and it was impossible to tell which direction to go. Is there such a place at the bottom of the Black Mountain? Suyu was startled by this. Judging from its size, it seemed like the entire 18 linked mountains was a labyrinth-like cave. If an ordinary person entered this place, they would most likely have to proceed cautiously. But Suyu had his soul eyes, so he wasn't afraid of anything. Suyu's eyes flickered with a white radiance, and the whole cave became transparent in his eyes. In an instant, the whole cave was clearly visible to him. Suyu swept his surroundings with his gaze and discovered that there weren't any living beings in the cave. It seemed like a natural cave that had existed for many years. Suddenly, Suyu's pupils contracted. He discovered that there was a giant stone gate in front of him, which he couldn't penetrate. Even his soul power was isolated from it. This meant that the giant gate's construction was no small matter. Moreover, the person who had built it was obviously also an extraordinary person. Suyu's heart shuddered slightly, and he muttered to himself irresolutely for a moment before he walked toward the stone gate. With his transparent eyes, he wouldn't lose his way, no matter how complicated the passage was. After walking for an hour, Suyu finally reached the stone gate. That's right, the powerful ghost energy, fluctuations that I felt came from the stone gate. Xingji's eyes shone brightly. She was quite excited. Suyu stroked his chin as he examined the stone gate. The stone gate was 300 meters tall, and it was made of a pitch-black material. It gave off a cold and gloomy feeling. Suyu could still feel the ghost clan's aura, which was slowly emanating from it. This was a natural cave, so why would a man-made stone gate appear here? Suyu, who was filled with doubts, walked forward and observed it carefully. He discovered that the stone gate wasn't tightly closed, and he could faintly see a small crack. It seemed like it had just been opened by someone. Suyu's heart thumped, and he looked through the crack to see what was inside. When he saw what was inside, his heart shuddered. He had unexpectedly seen Xueqi, who had gone missing. Xueqi was imprisoned in a blood-red light sphere, which had many tentacles stretching out of it. They were trying to crawl onto Xueqi's body. However, a yellow pearl was hanging on Xueqi's neck, and it emitted yellow waves that blocked the tentacles. Xueqi's eyes were closed tightly, and she furrowed her brows. It seemed like she was struggling strenuously. Suyu also discovered a large pile of white bones next to Xueqi. Judging from the color of the white bones, they had all died not long ago. The oldest one had died not more than half a year ago, while the newest one had died several days ago. Suyu's whole body shuddered as he thought about how many people had gone missing in the 18-linked mountains in the past half a year. Could it be that the evil ghost that was causing mischief was inside the stone gate? An indescribable sense of crisis welled up in his heart. Suyu's gaze quickly swept the surroundings and observed the layout of the gate. It was only after he observed it carefully that he discovered that the gate's structure was similar to an altar. It was surrounded by a sunken pond, and there was a giant platform in the center, which had a flight of stairs carved on it. The platform's surroundings were also carved with mysterious symbols. They were twisted and strange, and they didn't seem like human language. Suyu recognized them with just a single glance, and his heart shuddered slightly. Ghost Clan's language. Those twisted symbols were the Ghost Clan's language, as Yunyazi had also studied them in his research. The illusionary spirit departed soul formation. Suyu recognized the Ghost Clan's language, and it seemed like it was a secret technique related to souls. The stone platform was probably the altar that used this formation. This altar was quite old, at least 100 years old. Ghost energy was surging around it, and a chilly wind was blowing. Suyu's pupils contracted when he saw a person lying at the center of the altar, amidst the surging ghost energy. Suyu couldn't see the person's face clearly, but the powerful aura he emitted made his expression become grave. This aura was extremely powerful, and it was at least at the middle stage Divine Master Realm. Chapter 805. Suyu's heart thumped. The Ghost Clan, which had been exterminated 100 years ago, was going to be reborn? After Suyu ascertained that it was a late-stage Divine Master, he didn't hesitate any longer. He held his breath and retreated slowly. As Suyu looked at the trapped Xueqi, he clenched his teeth. He wasn't a match for a middle-stage Divine Master, and if he rushed over now, he wouldn't be able to save anyone. He left quietly and crawled out of the underground cave. A gust of wind blew past, and Suyu felt a chill on his forehead. Only then did he realize that his forehead was full of cold sweat. It was really unexpected that the ferocious creature that had caused the 18-linked mountains to disappear many times in the past half a year was actually in this cave at the foot of the mountain. He had to inform the manor as soon as possible and let them come and deal with it. When he returned to the tent, Bing Wuxin and the others had already returned. "What took you so long? What happened?" Bai Shanliang, who was walking over, suddenly stopped in his tracks. He looked at Suyu and said, "Wait, You have a faint poisonous aura on your body. Did you run into the creature that kidnapped Xueqi?" Hearing this, the people in the tent stood up abruptly and stared at Suyu. Suyu nodded solemnly. "Let's talk about this later. Now, you should go and report to the manor master that I found Xueqi's whereabouts." Everyone's expressions turned grave. Looking at Suyu's expression, it seemed like he had discovered something grave. "Junior brother, there is no need to go. The manor lord has already left the manor to welcome the palace lord and the others. Right now, there are only a few elders in the manor." Bai Shanliang shook his head. Leave at the critical moment? Su Yu's heart sank slightly, and as he looked around, he furrowed his brows and asked, "Where is Zixian?" She didn't reply either. Her? He came back, but immediately left, as if he was running away from something. Bai Shanliang looked at Su Yu. His intuition told him that Zixian was different from ordinary people, and it wasn't as simple as just having an ambiguous relationship with Su Yu. Gone. Su Yu was surprised. Why did she suddenly leave without any reason? Could it be that it sensed some danger? But without anyone's help, how could he save Xueqi? If he were alone, he probably wouldn't even be able to make a single move before that resurrected, mid-stage divine master ghost was obliterated. "Junior brother, tell us about Xueqi's situation first. We can look for the elders and the 7 inner sanctum disciples to help," Bai Shanliang said. Su Yu thought about it for a moment, then secretly shook his head. In front of someone at the middle stage, the 4 of them would be annihilated without a doubt. Only the elders in the villa might be able to help. All of a sudden, Su Yu's eyes lit up. "I have an idea. Leave this matter to me alone. You can inform the elders of the manor later." The 4 demons looked at each other in dismay. They were all baffled. What is Su Yu planning? However, they still followed Su Yu's agreement, which was to bide their time and inform the elders of the manor later. Before long, Su Yu quietly returned to the Black Mountain. Su Yu sat cross-legged on the mountain as he looked at the curtain of night that had fallen. He counted his gains for the day. Those who did not know what was going on would think that Su Yu had just finished his work. After a while, a group of people deliberately flew over to this mountain. 7 figures. Who else could it be other than inner sanctum disciples? Su Yu's performance the day before had piqued their curiosity. Hence, they naturally wanted to come and see what Su Yu had gained today. "Junior brother, are you finally resting?" A soft and pleasant voice drifted over, and when Su Yu raised his head to look at it, he saw that it was the multicolored young woman, Senior Sister Jiu. Her beautiful eyes were staring at the large number of magical treasures in front of Su Yu. Su Yu quickly collected his gains, stood up, and cupped his fists at them. "Senior Sister Jiu, Senior Brothers." The 6 inner sanctum disciples behind Jiu looked at the small mountain beneath Su Yu's feet, which had been excavated to the point that only a third of it was left. Even though they were almighty divine masters, their excavation speed was still slower than this very realm cultivator. This surprised them greatly. Of course, among the 6 of them, there were 2 hidden gazes filled with greed. "Junior brother, you are really skilled. You managed to flatten 60% of it in 2 days. It's no wonder that you have such a great harvest." Jiu bit her rosy lips. She was both surprised and envious. Su Yu replied modestly, "I was just lucky. It seems like this mountain wasn't as hard as I had imagined, so I managed to excavate it quite smoothly." They had come here a day earlier than Su Yu and the others, and they had explored all 18 mountains. Although some of the mountain peaks were quite soft, they were definitely not the one beneath Su Yu's feet. "Junior brother, you are too modest. If you have an opportunity to come to the inner sanctum in the future, you can look for me to discuss the martial path with me." Jiu wanted to say something, but she hesitated. After all, they only had 3 days to excavate the mountain, and today was the last day. So they would have to return to the inner sanctum the next day. Her harvest couldn't be considered small, but it was still a far cry from Su Yu's. She really wanted to ask Su Yu what kind of secret technique he had, so that she could give it a try in the future. But it was a pity that she wasn't familiar with Su Yu, and if she asked him rashly, she wouldn't get any answers. In her opinion, since he had managed to get the Outer Sanctum's exams first place and had managed to reach the carp leaping over Dragon Gate's 50th layer, his potential was extraordinary, and he had a high chance of entering the Inner Sanctum. Su Yu revealed a faint smile and said, "Senior sister, you must be joking. I have just joined the Sanctum, and I'm still far from reaching the Inner Sanctum. I believe in you, junior brother." Jiyu revealed a sweet smile. She was as beautiful as a roadside canna. "It's already dark, so why don't you go back with us? This mountain isn't very peaceful." Su Yu replied, "Senior sister, many thanks for your concern, but I still have some matters to take care of. Senior sister, you should leave first. Since that's the case, you should be careful and go back quickly," Jiyu instructed him before she led the others away. As Su Yu looked at their departing gazes, a faint smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. "Whether I can save Xueqi or not will depend on you." Su Yu stomped on the ground, revealing the hole that he had concealed. He then quickly entered the underground cave. On the mountain peak, there was no one, only the whistling wind. Swish, swish! Right at this moment, two figures silently appeared at the top of the mountain like ghosts. One of them had dark skin with a hint of purplish gold. His eyes shone brightly like a pair of torches in the darkness. The other carried a black and white sword on his back and stood ramrod straight. His eyes were as sharp as swords, and his entire body gave off a sharp feeling. Hee, that brat sure slipped away quickly. In the blink of an eye, he's gone. Could it be that he knows that we're going to harm him? The dark-skinned young man looked around and sneered. The young man with the black and white swords on his back didn't say anything. He scanned the area with his eyes, and suddenly he felt a strange movement in the mountain below him. He took a closer look and saw a half-hidden cave entrance, hidden in the night. "Brotherwin, look, there's a tunnel here." The dark-skinned young man had also noticed the cave's existence, so he swept his leg and removed the stones that were covering it, revealing the cave entrance. The dark-skinned young man squatted down and touched the cave entrance. He then revealed a cold smile and said, "His aura is still lingering around the cave entrance and inside it. It seems like he entered the tunnel. It's no wonder that he didn't want to follow us back to the camp. It's because he discovered the underground tunnel and wanted to look for treasures by himself." The dark-skinned young man curled his lips into a mocking smile and said, "I can't help but say that he's really a cunning lad." The young man with the black and white swords on his back wore a calm expression as he said, "The 18 linked mountains are the strangest region of the elegant Spirit Mountain, and the tunnel that appeared here is quite extraordinary. So we mustn't be careless. It's safest for us to wait for him at the cave entrance. Brotherwin, in my opinion, this cave didn't just open, so that lad must have already gone down there. If there's any danger, why would he dare to enter it again?" The dark-skinned young man was slightly anxious. He then added, "This lad doesn't seem like a stupid person. Once he discovers that we are guarding the cave entrance, he'll surely hide underground and not come out. Moreover, we must leave the elegant Spirit Mountain by tomorrow morning at the latest. We don't have time to waste with this lad. Moreover," the dark-skinned young man licked his lips and said, "Brotherwin, don't you want to go down there to try your luck? Since this cave entrance has already been opened, it will surely be taken over by the manor tomorrow, so it will be impossible for us to go down there." His last words touched the heart of the dual swords youth. The path of martial arts was extremely difficult, and a fortuitous encounter could change one's entire life. As such, whether one could grasp it or not depended on whether one was willing to take risks or not. As such, it was quite possible that a fortuitous encounter was hidden beneath the ruins of the great battle between humans and ghosts 100 years ago. As his gaze flickered, the dual swords youth didn't manage to resist the temptation in his heart. So he nodded and jumped into the tunnel along with the dark-skinned young man. Let's follow this lad's aura. The dual swords youth closed his eyes for a moment before he opened them once again. His eyes shone with a bright light, and they could faintly see some traces that couldn't be discerned by the naked eye. It was the aura left behind by Suyu. The two of them moved like a gust of wind, moving through the complicated tunnel without leaving any traces behind. After half a cup of tea's time had passed, they came to a stop in front of a giant stone gate. Brotherwin, why is there a man-made stone gate here? The dark-skinned young man furrowed his brows as he looked at the black stone gate. He had a bad premonition. The dual swords youth's heart also sank. We might have been tricked, as I can feel a terrifying aura from within the stone gate. They had finally realized that it was Suyu who had lured them here. But where is immortal Suyu? It's impossible for a living person like him to just disappear into thin air. The dark-skinned young man surveyed his surroundings in surprise. At this moment, a red mist pervaded the vicinity of the stone gate, and an old man stepped out of it. It was none other than Suyu. However, compared to Suyu, Suyu's eyes were too clear, like a child's eyes, which didn't match his current age. Suyu, the dark-skinned young man shouted in a low voice. Both of them were afraid of the inner sanctum's dangers, so they didn't consider Suyu's abnormality. Suyu chuckled like a young girl, then turned into a pink mist once again and disappeared from his former place. A bolt of lightning flickered at the tunnel's exit, and Suyu walked out of it. At this moment, Suyu had recovered his youthful appearance. He had long white hair, a youthful face that was as handsome as a celestial being, and a pair of deep eyes. He seemed like a celestial being who had come out of an ancient painting. Suyu wore a faint smile as he said, "Judging by the time, they should have already reached the stone gate. I will have to trouble you to help me block that ghost." As Suyu spoke, he used his transparent eye in his left eye, while his right eye was the wine-red spatial eye. His left eye penetrated the cave and went straight to the stone gate, then entered it through a crack that he had discovered previously. At the same time, his right eye's powerful spatial power instantly entered the gate and engulfed Xueqi, along with the blood-red sphere. Chapter 806. Inside the door, Xueqi, who was bound by the blood-red sphere, was resisting its devouring with great difficulty. Suddenly, she felt a powerful spatial power envelop her, which startled her. She didn't allow her to resist, as the spatial power enveloped her and teleported her away. The black corpse lying on the altar, which was engulfed by ghostly energy, immediately detected the change. Roar! As an inhuman roar echoed out, the black corpse stood up straight, while its yellow pupils shone with a bright light. In an instant, the space started shaking, while the pitch-black stone door trembled unceasingly. An enormous aura surged out from the altar in all directions like a tsunami. The two people outside the door felt like they were facing a volcano eruption, and the feeling that their lives were beyond their control filled their hearts. Even though they were early-stage divine masters, they were still as weak as ants in front of such an aura. A middle-stage divine master! The dark-skinned youth's pupils contracted as he cried out involuntarily. He then turned around and fled without uttering another word. The dual swords youth was one step ahead of him, and his expression became extremely gloomy, while his killing intent was shocking. Damned be *starred. We were tricked by that lad. Swoosh! Since they were facing a middle-stage divine master, they didn't hold back at all, and they immediately used their treasured escape techniques. They had spent half a cup of tea's time to come here, but it had only taken them 10 breaths' time to return to the tunnel. They didn't hesitate to rush into the tunnel, as they planned to escape from the underground cave. However, when they entered the tunnel, they discovered that the entrance was blocked by someone else. It was a half-blue, half-yellow sphere, which was blocking the tunnel's entrance, preventing them from entering or leaving. Damned be *starred. You dared to trick us. The dark-skinned youth became restless, and as he roared repeatedly, he thrust his palm toward the object blocking the tunnel. Bang! However, when he thrust his fist at it, he didn't manage to break the object blocking the tunnel. Instead, his arm was shaken to the point that it hurt. Break open the tunnel, as we must rush out. Otherwise, if the middle stage divine master behind us chases us, we will surely die. The dual sword's youth's brows twitched, while killing intent welled up in his heart. He had wanted to chase after Suyu, yet he ended up being locked in the underground cave. What was worse was that the terrifying middle stage divine master ghost was also locked here, and it was an infuriated ghost. Clang! The young man unsheathed his swords and swept them across the edge of the hole, creating a 5-feet-deep dent. In less than 10 strikes, he would be able to dig out a tunnel from the side. How could the dark-skinned youth dare to bring it along? His skin gradually turned purplish-black, especially his fists, which were purplish-black. He looked very strange. Open. The dark-skinned youth roared and fiercely struck the stone wall. More than half of the stone wall that was already half a zhang long was blasted away. With the two of them working together, they didn't even need 3 rounds to successfully escape. Brother Win, let's keep it up. The dark-skinned youth punched out once more. However, Brother Win behind him did not continue to slash with his sword. The dark-skinned youth lowered his head and looked down. Brother Win, who was just under his feet, had actually disappeared without a trace. Brother Win. The dark-skinned youth's expression changed, and he hurriedly descended. Just as he entered the cave through the tunnel, he caught a glimpse of a figure behind him. The dark youth couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief, and then he turned around and said, Brother Win, why didn't you tell me that you were coming down? What happened? You, what are you? The moment he turned around, his voice stopped abruptly. The figure that had appeared behind him wasn't Brother Win, but a ferocious-looking ghost wrapped in a long black robe. Its tattered black robe emitted thick ghost energy, and its long black hair draped over its shoulders. It had a frightening face. Its skin was pale green, and its eyes were deeply sunken. 2 dim yellow ghost flames danced in the depths of its pupils. Its nostrils were rotten, and 2 sharp fangs grew out of its mouth. At this moment, the ghost was staring at the dark-skinned youth, and a chilly wind came from its mouth. Fine! I saved 1 divine master, and now there are 2. Swish! The ghost instantly disappeared. The dark-skinned youth was overwhelmed with shock. His entire body turned purplish-black, and it seemed extremely tough. However, he didn't notice that behind him there was a huge black ghost silhouette that was sticking closely to him. It was as silent as a shadow. It opened its mouth, which was filled with sharp fangs, and bit down on his neck. A shrill scream echoed in the spacious cave. The dark-skinned youth quickly shriveled like a bag of skin. In just 3 breaths' time, all that was left of him was a bag of skin. His flesh, blood, and bones had all been sucked away, and nothing was left. The ghost licked its lips and chuckled. The taste isn't bad, but I haven't had enough. With a ferocious smile, the ghost looked at the empty stone crack in front of it and grabbed at it from a distance. Bang! The huge stone was suddenly crushed into pieces. Swoosh! A figure dashed out from the crushed stone. It was the youth with 2 swords who had mysteriously disappeared just now. In fact, he had sensed the ghost's arrival in advance, so he had hidden himself. He had thought that the ghost wouldn't notice him, but he hadn't expected it to be so sharp. He had seen with his own eyes that his junior brother had been sucked into a bag of skin. Its cruelty and terror made the youth's scalp go numb, and he fled for his life. He gritted his teeth and chose to rush into the tunnel to fight one last time. Otherwise, the underground cave would be sealed, and he would be like a sheep trapped with a tiger. He wouldn't be able to escape. After rushing to the top of the cave, the youth held his swords in his hands and waved them crazily as he shouted angrily, "Little B****, move the cave's entrance away!" Su Yu was standing on the pearl when a pink fog flickered beside him. and a figure that looked exactly like Suyu appeared. He grinned, and his body dissipated, leaving behind a pink creature that was as big as a puppy. It was none other than the small Kylan. It was proficient in shape-shifting magical abilities, so it had disguised itself as Suyu and lured them to the stone door. Then, it had used its shape-shifting ability to easily pass through the Black Mountain and return to Suyu's side. Everything had gone according to plan. When he heard the urgent curses and shouts coming from below, Suyu curled up the corners of his mouth and said, "Senior brother, isn't it nice down there? The scenery is pleasant and the environment is beautiful. You can take a walk here, and you can even pick up some treasures from time to time. Even if you wanted to go down there, you wouldn't be able to do so." The youth with 2 swords was infuriated. "Suyu, let me out immediately. Otherwise, I swear that I will hunt you down to the ends of the earth." Suyu laughed mockingly. "Oh, why do I feel like I will be hunted down if I let you out? If you stay down there forever, then no one will hunt me down." "Fine. Suyu, as long as you let me out, I won't make things difficult for you." The youth with 2 swords swore, but his eyes were filled with hatred. He wouldn't make things difficult for Suyu, but he would definitely kill him. Suyu shrugged his shoulders. "Senior brother, you should just stay down there peacefully." When the youth with 2 swords was about to curse him, a chilly wind that carried a hint of blood suddenly assaulted his neck. His face turned deathly pale. However, unlike the dark-skinned youth, the youth with 2 swords was extremely decisive. He held the black and white swords in his hands against his neck, and with a turn of his body, his head was cut off. He had obviously chosen to commit suicide. His body was quickly destroyed, but a transparent phantom image, which couldn't be seen by the naked eye, floated out of the headless corpse. It was able to easily pass through the physical layer and escape from the tunnel. His soul had left his body, which was a technique of an almighty divine master. It could be considered as a cicada escaping from its shell. The destruction of one's body meant that one's martial path would be crippled, and one would need to find a new body to cultivate from scratch. Such a hatred could be described as a blood feud. As the youth with 2 swords glared at Suyu resentfully, he roared repeatedly, "Suyu, just wait for me!" Souls couldn't be sensed by the naked eye, and their voices couldn't be heard. However, the youth with 2 swords' body shuddered when he heard Suyu's reply. "Is that so?" Suyu tilted his head and wore a faint smile as he looked at the soul body in front of him. The youth with 2 swords asked solemnly, "Can you see me?" Suyu revealed a faint smile. "Not only can I see you, but I can also send you to a certain place." After he spoke, Suyu's eyes became like whirlpools, which emitted an irresistible power. The youth with 2 swords' soul was instantly engulfed by them, and he fell into Suyu's soul space. In the 18th layer of hell, a boundless dark space stretched as far as the eye could see, and it was so boundless that it made people panic. "Where is this place?" The youth with 2 swords' soul was extremely restless. It was at this moment that an aged voice transmitted from the darkness. "Haha, that lad still kept his promise, as he managed to get a divine master's soul so quickly." A drop of blood came out of it. The youth with 2 swords was quite cautious. "Who are you?" The drop of blood laughed and replied, "You don't need to know who I am. All you need to know is that I need to borrow you for a while." After it spoke, it didn't give the youth with 2 swords a chance to respond, and it entered the space between his brows and devoured his soul. The drop of blood became slightly more complete, and it was now more plump than before. At this moment, Suyu's voice transmitted from the dark space. "I have fulfilled my promise." In the past, when they had fought the Blood Emperor in the Jinlong world, Suyu had been forced to use the drop of blood's evil ghost power to absorb all living beings' power for his own use. Now he had fulfilled his promise. "Lad, do you still want to make another deal?" The drop of blood chuckled. Suyu raised his brows. "A deal? It's still not time to use the evil ghost power, so it's still too early to talk about a deal. However, the drop of blood chuckled and said, "Don't take it so seriously. Let's just talk about life and reason. Isn't it good to talk about the future?" The corners of Su Yu's mouth twitched. "There's something happening in the outside world, so I don't have time to chat." "What a boring kid." The drop of blood murmured and said with a faint smile, "The deal this deity emperor wants to discuss is this deity emperor's secret technique, the evil dragon divine body. I believe you will be interested." Su Yu replied without hesitation, "I've already studied the dragon clan's words thoroughly. Even without your help, I can still translate this scripture clearly." This divine emperor risked his life to obtain the dragon race's holy scripture. Is it something that can be cultivated just by translating it? I'm sure you've used the first dragon physique that I've modified on many occasions. How's the effect? The drop of blood asked in a profound voice. Su Yu pondered for a moment before replying, "He's strong, but not as strong as I imagined." The initial first dragon's body had raised his fleshly body from the state of a half-fairy to the state of a fairy. But now the enhancement effect was mediocre, and it could only increase his physical strength by one level. It was far from enough to be called the first dragon body. To his surprise, the droplet of blood chuckled. "Of course, even the first dragon body is divided into different grades. You're just a one-lineage dragon body of the lowest grade. Of course you're mediocre." Su Yu was surprised. Dragon body of one vein. The evil dragon divine body doesn't say that. Do you think that the dragon race is so stupid that they would write all of its contents in the scripture? Some of its crucial details are known as the dragon language inheritance, and are passed down orally from generation to generation. So, how could you possibly know about them? The droplet of blood asked complacently. Su Yu's eyes lit up. "Does this mean that you know something about them?" The droplet of blood stuck out its chest. "Do you still need to ask me? I'm a divine emperor and I can kill gods and kill fairies. So, a trifling dragon race dares to hide it from me?" Su Yu was still skeptical. "I'll believe you this time. What do you need, and what can you give me?" The Blood Emperor revealed a crafty smile. "As long as you can get me a divine master's soul every month, I'll find a way to help you modify your body. But the prerequisite is that you have enough real spirit dragon veins. In the end, after I modify you into a 5-dragon body, your fleshly body will become a divine master." A divine master's fleshly body? Su Yu's heart palpitated with excitement. A divine master's power was unfathomable, and even though Su Yu had many treasures, he still didn't dare to face a divine master rashly. If he was even slightly careless, he might be killed by a divine master before he could even use any techniques. If he could create a divine master's fleshly body, then it would be much safer for him. "Fine, it's a deal," Su Yu agreed. Now he just needed to look for the real spirit dragon veins. As for how to find them, Su Yu already had a plan. After his soul returned to his body, Su Yu opened his eyes. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and soared into the sky. At the same time, he took back the underworld pearl. At the same time, he quickly flew toward the manor. However, just as he was about to move, a ghost-like black blur appeared out of nowhere and easily reached Su Yu's back. The black blur then let out a creepy, cold laugh. "It's you who saved my food, isn't it?" Chapter 807. However, Su Yu seemed to have been prepared for this. His whole body was filled with lightning, and he turned into a thunder shadow and escaped. In an instant he traveled tens of thousands of li, arriving at the edge of the ring. He could vaguely make out tents and villas. However, right at that moment, a fishy wind assaulted him, and a wisp of sharp, cold air headed straight for Su Yu's heart. Su Yu didn't need to turn his head to know that it was the middle-stage divine master ghost that was chasing after him. After all, a middle-stage divine master's speed wasn't something a fairy could rival. Yu could sense the frightening power contained within the piercing cold air. It was not something that he could withstand with his current strength. Yu's eyes flickered slightly as he looked at the manor, and he no longer retreated. Instead, he threw out a blue and yellow ball from his sleeves. From the size of an eyeball, the ball rapidly grew to the size of 5 feet and ruthlessly smashed behind the other party. Poochie, with a muffled sound, the cold wind that assaulted his back was forcefully extinguished. You have such a magic treasure? The ghost spoke in the human language and was shocked. His previous strike was powerful enough to kill 10 fairy realm experts like Yu. Yu sucked in the air, and the underworld pearl returned to his palm. At the same time, he shook his sleeves, and a silk thread, which even the divine masters couldn't detect, flew out. The specter's senses were extremely sharp. Even though it was unable to detect the existence of the threads, it instinctively sensed danger. Black mist flashed around its body, condensing into a pair of wings on its back. With a flap of those wings, it teleported itself 1,000 feet away. Just as he was about to leave, a crack appeared in the void where he had been standing. Jiuzhou's spatial fissures were terrifyingly powerful, and even the power of all creations couldn't easily shatter them. Hence, Yu's strike had greatly frightened the ghost. Who are you? Elegant Spirit Mountain doesn't have someone like you. The ghost said seriously, feeling quite shocked. Yu understood the hidden meaning behind his words, and he wondered, is this ghost familiar with the Elegant Spirit Mountain's people and objects? It seemed like what Shenggu had said wasn't false, and this ghost had really been hiding in the Elegant Spirit Manor all along. This was why it had managed to recognize Yu, who had returned to his youth's body, and had never appeared in the Elegant Spirit Manor. There's no need to know. Yu's gaze turned serious, and he flicked his fingers continuously. The silk threads, which were hard to be seen by the naked eye, were like whips in his hands, and he waved them freely. The ghost's expression darkened slightly. It dodged one dangerous attack after another. Puff! In a moment of carelessness, the ghost's sleeve was cut off. This action startled the ghost. Fear welled up in the ghost's heart, and as he looked at the Elegant Spirit Manor's disturbance, he looked at the thorny Yu. He could only clench his teeth and give up. Lad, we aren't finished yet. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and fled. Swish, swish. At the same time, powerful divine master auras gushed out from the Elegant Spirit Mountain Manor. 5 divine master elders soared into the sky and rushed toward this place. The 4 fiendish demons also came with him. However, it was very likely that they were a step too late and would not be able to catch up to the ghost. From afar, the ghost turned around coldly and stared at Yu. Hurry up! I will find you soon. Yu curled up the corners of his mouth. Why wait for the future? I will give you a chance now. As he spoke, Yu's right eye emitted a burgundy radiance. A wave of space energy instantly locked onto the ghost in the faraway horizon and quickly enveloped it. Wait, what are you doing? The ghostly being's expression changed dramatically. Thinking back to the female disciple he had captured and how she had been taken away in the same way, his expression changed dramatically. He wanted to struggle, but it was too late. Space rippled, and when he appeared once again, he was in the sky above the Elegant Spirit Mountain Manor. What infuriated him even more was that he had unexpectedly been teleported to the center of a group of divine master elders. Yu's control of space energy had become more refined and skillful, so it wasn't difficult for him to achieve such a feat as for the ghost. Yu had just pushed him into the center of a wolf's den. Even the Elegant Spirit Mountain Manor's people were startled, and they all looked at the ghost in confusion. After a long while, they came back to their senses, and shock appeared on their faces as they attacked him. Even though the ghost possessed great abilities, how could he face the joint power of 5 divine master elders? This was especially the case since there was a middle-stage divine master elder among them. Ah, As the ghost screamed miserably, he was bombarded by the attack, and he spouted a mouthful of black snow. As for the 5 elders, they were overjoyed. After all, a middle-stage Divine Master Elder ghost was quite difficult to deal with. Who would have expected that he would end up in their midst? Suyu flew over quickly, while holding the blue sphere in one hand and the silk thread in the other. He revealed a faint smile and said, "Tisk, Tika, I really admire you. You actually volunteered to become a punching bag for the elegant Spirit Mountain's old men. What a respectable professionalism. I really admire you." The ghost was so infuriated that he started cursing. It was clearly Suyu who had teleported him to the center of a group of divine masters and turned him into a meat pie. Yet Suyu was still making sarcastic remarks. "I will tear you apart." The ghost bared his fangs and roared loudly. He then pushed aside the 2 divine masters in front of him and charged at Suyu. However, just as he was about to break through the encirclement, a chain wrapped around his back. When he turned his head around, he saw that it was an old man with white hair and a rusty face. The old man threw a rusty chain from his sleeves and bound his legs. This chain was quite special, as it didn't just bind his body, it also suppressed his ghostly energy. This was especially the case since the old man's cultivation was quite outstanding. He was at the middle stage Divine Master Realm, just like the ghost. "Humph! You have stirred up trouble for many days in the past half a year, and now you have finally shown yourself. Accept your punishment." The old man shook his wrist, and the ghost was sent flying away like a stone. He crashed into the mountain below him and shattered it. The whole elegant Spirit Mountain trembled slightly. At the same time, the 5 elders quickly formed a formation and surrounded the ghost, then used their magical powers to bombard it. The ghost roared unceasingly as it was bombarded by the smoke. Its life force was shockingly strong, and it was still alive even after being besieged by so many people. None of you should even dream about living. It seemed like the ghost was thoroughly infuriated, and a powerful airflow emanated from the smoke. It blew away the smoke and revealed the ghost's body, which was covered in wounds. When Suyu fixed his gaze on it, he discovered that it was a tall and sturdy monster. Its abdomen was broad, its chest was sturdy, and its limbs were thick and powerful. At first glance, it seemed like an ape-man, but its malevolent face would make anyone shudder with fear. Even though its body was riddled with scars, none of them were fatal. Ghost howl, wind from an empty cave. The ghost opened its mouth and spouted a black airflow, which turned into a strong wind that engulfed the surroundings. The strong wind contained an intense evil power, and it could invade anything. An old woman in the early stage of the Divine Master Realm, who was swept by the wind, groaned miserably. Blood flowed from her ears and nose, and her whole body trembled violently. After that, the other people who were swept by the wind suffered the same fate. The old man's face turned grave. "Activate your divine seal. This is wind, and it can pollute your vital energy. Only the divine seal can block this wind." A magical seal the size of a fist appeared above the heads of the 5 elders at the same time. It looked like a seal, but different words were carved on it. The magical seal emitted a gentle radiance that enveloped the 5 people. Only then did the 5 elders' expressions ease. However, the ghost revealed a mocking smile. "You want to block me with just a trifling divine seal." Ghost howl, second style, pervasive penetration. The rotating airflow suddenly turned into steel needles that were even smaller than pores, and they pierced toward the 5 elders. The radiance emitted by the divine seal resisted for a moment, but it was soon shattered. Several miserable screams echoed as the 4 early-stage divine masters were pierced by the steel needles. The vital energy in their bodies was being polluted at a speed visible to the naked eye, and their vital energy was rapidly weakening. Ghost howl, third style, pursuing shadow. The ghost let out a hideous laugh, and the steel needles that filled the sky retracted, then turned into ghostly shadows that charged toward the old man. Puff! In the end, even the middle stage divine master realm old man couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. In just 10 breaths, the 5 elders were all at a disadvantage. Chapter 808. Old thing, do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Since you are in my way, don't blame me for being merciless and using you as my food. The ghost shouted coldly as it tried to grab the nearest elder with its claws. However, at that moment, a mocking voice transmitted from the sky. You are interested in the blood of a bunch of old fellows? It seems like you are really hungry. Why don't you try the blood of your own death? The ghost raised its head, its blood-red eyes filled with killing intent. Its body flickered as it turned into an afterimage and tried to tear Suyu apart. However, at that moment, Suyu's left eye emitted a mysterious purple light, and a purple dragon flew out of it and coiled around it. What shocked the ghost even more was that its body couldn't budge at all, as if it had been frozen in time. In the eyes of the 5 elders, the ghost seemed to have slowed down by several folds. Suyu's eyes flickered as he threw the underworld pearl in his left hand. The extremely heavy underworld pearl pressed down on the ghost's body, causing it to fall on the ground. Rumble. Suyu had used his whole power in this strike, so it was extremely powerful. When it fell on the ground, a 10-meter deep crater was created, and it continued to sink deeper into the ground. It was only after it had created a 300-meter deep crater and caused the ground to collapse that it finally stopped. After all, this was an ancient battlefield, and the hardness of many places wasn't any weaker than the 18-linked mountains. 3 breaths had passed. The ghost let out a miserable shriek as its whole body was crushed into pieces. Its bones and flesh had been crushed into powder, and only a small part of its body was left. Even so, the ghost's life force was still very strong, and it let out a low shout as it turned its remaining body into a mist, intending to drill into the ground and escape. However, a figure suddenly descended upon it, and with a wave of its sleeves, a formless thread streaked across the air and cut off its head. As its body was completely destroyed, an incorporeal soul escaped in fright and quickly drilled into the ground. However, it had only drilled halfway when a terrifying suction force sucked it away. The ghost only had time to take a look at the silver-gray eyes before it let out a hysterical roar. Who are you? It didn't believe that Suyu was just a small fairy realm cultivator. After all, Suyu had countless magical treasures and terrifying techniques, and even divine masters would be in danger of dying if they ran into him. Happy answered him with a pair of eyes that spun around him and the space in his soul. After killing the ghost, Suyu retrieved the ball and looked at the badly mutilated corpse. The ghost's spatial ring was also crushed and shattered. This made Suyu feel a little helpless. Although the underworld pearl was powerful and could crush everything in its path, the treasures of the enemy would often be crushed and shattered along with it. It was really a pity. After killing the ghost, Suyu felt more at ease and immediately flew out of the deep pit. Just as he landed on the edge of the deep pit, Suyu noticed many pairs of shocked eyes. The 5 great elders stared at Suyu in shock and seriousness. The fear in their eyes was obvious. They had seen with their own eyes that the ridiculously strong ghost was easily killed by Suyu in just a few moves. Even his soul had been devoured. All kinds of strange divine abilities and means made the white-haired youth in front of him shine with a mysterious light. Standing in front of him, the 5 elders all felt a great pressure. Young friend, may I ask who you are? Why did you appear in our Red Blood Palace's territory? The Iron Chain Elder cupped his fists at him and treated him like a peer, even though the white-haired youth in front of him was only at the fairy realm. Suyu chuckled. I was just passing by, and I couldn't help but attack when I saw the ghost appearing and harming people. As for my name, my surname is Su, and my first name is Yu. Suyu. The Iron Chain Elder muttered as he exchanged glances with the other 4 elders. They all shook their heads blankly as this name was too unfamiliar to them. However, this didn't stop them from being shocked by Suyu. A level 2 fairy had killed a middle-stage divine master. This was simply unimaginable. In Juzhou, apart from the 9 prefectures' kings in their youth, who else could have done such a shocking deed? Fellow Taoist Su, many thanks for helping us kill the ghost. I'm Baiyang, and I thank you on behalf of the elders for saving our lives, Baiyang said. Suyu chuckled and waved his hand. Elder Bai, you don't need to be so polite. It was only because the elders held it back that I had a chance to kill it. He wasn't being modest, as Suyu wouldn't have had a chance to kill it if he had fought it alone. It was fortunate that the 5 of them had drawn its attention away. Otherwise, if he had fought it alone, Suyu would have already lost his life. Fellow Taoist Su, you are being too polite. We 5 old men didn't do anything at all. Baiyang chuckled in embarrassment. His expression became solemn as he said, Fellow Taoist Su, why don't you come to our manor as a guest? When the manor master comes back, he will surely reward you handsomely. Suyu rejected him directly. Fellow Taoist Bai, thank you for your kind intentions, but I still have some matters to attend to, so I won't stay here any longer. Suyu stepped on the air and flew away. When he passed by the 4 demons, he looked down at them and revealed a faint smile. It could be seen that the 4 of them had strictly followed Suyu's instructions, and they had informed the elders shortly after he left. Otherwise, how could the 5 elders have come here so quickly? The 4 demons were solemn expressions as they raised their heads and looked at Suyu, who was flying over their heads. They followed Suyu with their gazes, and even after he disappeared, they were still solemn and respectful. Bai Shanliang's expression became gloomy, and it was only after a long while that he took a deep breath. I really didn't expect that such a peerless youth expert would exist in this world. It seems like I was just a frog in a well after staying in the Red Blood Palace for so long. Bing Wuxin held her sword's hilt tightly with her right hand. Her palm was shivering, and she bit her lip with her snow-white teeth as she murmured, I now have another great emperor genius that I must surpass. Even the playful Gongsun Wuxia pondered this matter quietly, while she muttered softly, which faction raised such a powerful youth genius? Tian Renyao also became serious, which was rare for him, and he clenched his fists as he looked at Suyu's back. They might have an eccentric disposition, but they were all proud people, and they all believed that they were geniuses among geniuses. But when they witnessed the white-haired youth kill a middle-stage divine master with their own eyes, they were all shocked. They couldn't believe that such a dazzling youth genius existed in Juzhou. After a long while of silence, Tian Renyao exclaimed in surprise, Brother Yuxian, how could we forget about him? Hurry up and look for him. Baiyang and the others rested for a while, then looked in the direction in which Suyu had left. Let's also go over there. That ghost came from the 18-linked mountains. When they reached there, they easily discovered the cave on the mountain. As for Suyu, he had already turned back into his old self, so he went to the giant gate. This was the ghost's secret room, and there might be some treasures left behind. So, how could Suyu let this chance slip by? After Suyu entered the room, he surveyed the surroundings before he landed on the altar. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and flew to the altar, then fixed his gaze on it. Suyu's pupils couldn't help but contract when he saw it. He unexpectedly saw a familiar face on the altar. Chapter 809. It was the skin of a benevolent-looking old man who was dressed like a monk. Suyu had a deep impression of him, as he knew that he was the elder who had recommended them to the 18-linked mountains. Zhou and Suyu grabbed the skin and rubbed it in his hands. It seemed like it hadn't just been cut open, and there was still a wisp of ghost energy within it. Xingge, do you know what's going on? Suyu summoned Shanggu out of his wrists. As soon as he appeared, his gaze fell on the skin bag. He frowned and said, It should be the ghost race's painted skin. After obtaining the skin bag of a living being, they refine it using a special method. The ghost race can then wear the skin bag and disguise themselves as the living being. It is extremely deceptive. Unless one is sensitive to the ghost race's aura, it would be very difficult to discover it. In the Great War between humans and ghost race 100 years ago, the human race suffered a great loss in this aspect. Many of the human race have people similar to the painted skin. Painted skin? Su Yu's gaze flickered as he wondered, does the ghost clan have such a special ability? However, as he recalled how Xinggu was able to hide in a human's body and escape Elder Zhou's detection before escaping into the mysterious Heavenly Divine Pavilion, it was obvious that the ghost clan was quite talented in this aspect. Ding! All of a sudden, a badge fell out of the painted skin and landed on the altar. When he lowered his head and looked at it, he saw that it was a blood-red badge with the words Ghost Prison Envoy written on it. Su Yu felt that this badge was quite familiar to him, as if he had seen it before. Swoosh! As Su Yu's heart shook, a dim light flickered from the spatial ring on his finger, and a blood-red badge appeared in his palm. It was entirely blood-red, as if it was made of fresh blood. It also had the words Ghost Prison Envoy written on it. The two badges were exactly the same. The only difference was that the one that Su Yu took out of the spatial ring had the words 10,000 carved on its back. As for the one that he took out of the skin, it had the words 9,000 carved on it. Ghost prison badges? Xinggu suddenly screamed. She looked at the two ghost prison badges in Su Yu's palm in disbelief. Her eyes were filled with excitement, reverence, and longing. Su Yu raised his brows. Oh, do you know them? Xing Ji's beautiful eyes couldn't take even half a step away from the two blood ghost tokens. She spoke quickly, unable to hide the excitement in her heart. Of course I know. These are tokens that only the noblest emissaries in our ghost race can obtain. The way to get this token is to fight. As long as your battle prowess is ranked 10,000 in the ghost clan, you will be qualified to get the Ghost Prison token and become the Ghost Prison Messenger. You will hold the military power and enjoy endless resources and training. Su Yu looked at the Ghost Prison token in his palm and asked curiously, then, what is the cultivation level needed to obtain the lowest level Ghost Prison token? Early Stage Divine Master. Those ranked between 9,000 and 10,000 are all Early Stage Divine Masters, and those ranked before 9,000 are at least Middle Stage Divine Masters. Shunga licked her lips excitedly. The Ghost Prison token is not only a kind of identity, it also contains a kind of technique inheritance. It is a reward for the Ghost Prison Messenger. As she spoke, Xinggu hesitated a few times before saying, Master, can you take it? After Su Yu heard her, he casually threw it to Xinggu. This item was useless to him, so why not give it to Xinggu? After Xinggu got two Ghost Prison tokens at the same time, she felt like she was in a dream, and she was dumbfounded by her sudden luck. The Ghost Clan had billions of living beings, and being ranked in the top 10,000 was the dream of all of them. In fact, it was a dream that many living beings didn't even dare to hope for. Xinggu was one of them. In the past, she was just a small soldier who had participated in the Great War between humans and ghosts, and she was just a cannon fodder. She didn't expect that she would survive such a great calamity and be suppressed in the Jinlong world's dragon abyss of the 9 underworlds. Then, she became Su Yu's slave. She had already resigned herself to her fate, and she didn't expect that she would get two extremely precious Ghost Prison tokens. If she could use the technique inheritance within them, her power would surely soar, and she might even be able to pry into the Divine Master Realm's mysteries. She would then go from a heavenly ghost to a ghost king. Thank you, Master. Thank you. Xinggu was sincerely grateful to Su Yu for the first time. Su Yu waved his hand indifferently. Just work for me, and I will surely reward you. Xinggu accepted his order and obediently stood beside Su Yu. As for Su Yu, he looked at the painted skin in front of him and sighed. In that case, the real Jiuwen had died a long time ago, and her body had been taken over by a ghost. However, Su Yu still had some doubts in his heart. The ghost prison envoy had already returned to the ghost prison 100 years ago. So why did one suddenly appear here? And where did it come from? As he pondered this, Suyu couldn't help but look at the altar again. The ghost clan symbols of the illusionary spirit departed soul formation appeared around the altar, and Suyu became suspicious about the formation's function. Shingo, you said that this formation can only be set up by an all-creation realm ghost. Is that true? Shingo nodded. Yes. Only a ghost prison envoy at this level has the ability to carve the symbols, and a divine master can't succeed. As he looked at the painted skin in front of him, Suyu pondered deeply. Was the ghost prison envoy who took over Jio and an all-creation old monster when he was alive? Why do I feel that his power is still too weak? Having fought with Shuedi, Suyu felt that even if the all-creation realm ghost's power had only recovered to the middle stage of the divine master realm, it shouldn't have been so weak. Shingo blinked her eyes, as she didn't quite understand what Suyu meant. Swoosh! At this moment, Suyu's ears twitched, and he immediately patted Shangji's shoulder, sending her back into the 9 Jade spiritual pearl. The 4 demons and the 5 great elders could easily discover the cave on the mountain's peak, and they could then follow the ghost energy to find the ancient altar. Junior brother Su? Bai Shanliang's expression relaxed slightly, while a relaxed look appeared on his face. He had assumed that Suyu had failed to save Xueqi, and that he had also been killed by the ghost. Humph! It turns out that he still isn't dead. Bing Wuxin snorted coldly. Suyu smacked his lips. It was really difficult for ordinary people to accept Bing Wuxin's temper. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I was fortunate enough to be saved by a young expert who was just passing by. Suyu's face wasn't flushed at all. His casual words caused the 9 people's mental energies to move. Lad, quickly tell us what happened. Elder Bai Yang's eyes flickered as he asked. He was quite concerned about this young genius, who possessed a terrifying fighting prowess, and his tone was quite strict. Suyu replied carefully, Elder, I was planning to create a diversion to save Xueqi, but I was unexpectedly discovered by the ghost. I assumed that I would surely die, but I didn't expect that a white-haired youth who was just passing by would save Xueqi and lead the ghost away. I wonder what happened to her now. His words were filled with lies and truths, and no one could discern them. He didn't have any background, nor did he know where he went. The people here were all disappointed, as they still didn't know who he was. Forget it, just stand aside for now. Is this the place where you discovered that Xueqi was captured? Bai Yang surveyed the surroundings. Suyu nodded. That's right. That ghost was on the altar. Everyone followed his words, their gazes sweeping over the altar. It was easy to see that there was a familiar skin bag on the altar. A painted skin? Unexpectedly, all of the elders, including Bai Yang, knew about the ghost clan's unique painted skin. Swoosh! Swoosh! The 5 of them rushed over, their expressions grave. It can't be wrong. According to the analysis of the many ghost clans' ancient books collected by our elegant spirit mountain, this is the ghost clan's unique skin. I really didn't expect that my friend Jioen, who accompanied us for many years, was already possessed by a ghost. Bai Yang sighed deeply while grief appeared in his eyes. But just after this, his expression became grave. The ghost clan left the continent 100 years ago, and they surely wouldn't reappear in Jiuzhou for no reason. Moreover, many small factions in our 18 blessed and heavenly lands were attacked by unknown factions. So, we have reason to believe that the ghost clan from 100 years ago showed signs of activity, and that they might make a comeback. That's right. It's fortunate that the palace master came here, and she will have full authority over this matter. The elders' expressions became grave. The hearts of Suyu and the 4 demons became grave. Did the ghost clan want to make a comeback? 100 years ago, the terrifying clan that had destroyed Jiuzhou and plunged its people into misery and suffering would soon come back to Jiuzhou? If that was the case, it would surely be a calamity for the human race. This was especially the case since they had an emperor, Shinichen, who was on the verge of ascending to the throne and unifying Juzhou. He was capable of contending against the ghost prison's great emperor, but in that battle he had died mysteriously. If the ghost clan wanted to make a comeback, then no one would be able to stop the ghost prison's great emperor. After the atmosphere became grave for a long while, the 5 elders arranged for some experts to guard this place, then led Suyu and the others back to the camp. "Your name is Su Yuxian, isn't it? Don't go away, as the manor master will come back shortly. At that time he will probably ask you some questions," Bayong said. Su Yu nodded, then quietly waited in the camp with the 4 demons. After an hour, Xueqi came back. Her face was deathly pale. Apart from being quite weak, she didn't seem to have sustained any injuries. Her safe return caused Bayong to pay a visit to the camp again. He inquired about what had happened before leaving. "Senior sister Xueqi, congratulations on your return." Su Yu revealed a faint smile. Xueqi, who had just gone through such a dangerous situation, was greatly frightened. She forced herself to smile and say, "Junior brother, many thanks for your concern." Gongsun Wuxia rolled her eyes slightly, then chuckled and said, "Senior sister, you don't know this, but after you left, someone became so anxious that he risked his life to find your hiding place. It was only because he risked his life to find a place where you were hiding that a powerful expert came to save you. I heard that someone was almost captured by that ghost and had his skin sucked dry. I really don't know who his lover is." As Xueqi looked at Suyu, a warm feeling welled up in her heart. They were just strangers, yet Suyu had risked his life to save her. "Thank you," Xueqi repeated in a low voice, while gratefulness appeared in her gaze as she looked at Suyu. Suyu chuckled and said, "It's not that exaggerated. Senior sister, you don't need to take it to heart. I still haven't repaid you for reminding me to pay attention to the Shao family's people." At this moment, the tense flap was lifted. Senior sister Jiyu and the others who had gotten the news had come to visit Xueqi. "Junior sister Xueqi, it's great that you came back. Ji, you seem to be trying to curry favor with Xueqi," and the 4 inner sanctum disciples behind her also had the same expression. It seemed like Xueqi's status in the inner sanctum wasn't ordinary. Xueqi revealed a faint smile and said, "Everyone, please don't worry about me. It's all thanks to junior brother Su's fearlessness that I was saved." Chapter 810. After taking a deep look at Suyu, Jiyu and Han Xian exchanged a few words, then stood up and bade farewell. "Junior sister, please recuperate from your injuries. I'll take my leave first." With that, the group of 5 left quickly. Judging from their pace, they seemed to be in a hurry. Gongsun Wuxia curled her lips and said, "They came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Are their butts on fire? Or did you drop something?" Bai Shanliang, who was sitting beside Suyu, looked at him meaningfully, then said leisurely, "They might not have lost anything, but they must have lost 2 people. Their group of 7 is missing 2 people." As he spoke, Bai Shanliang couldn't help but look at Suyu. "Junior brother Su, do you know where those 2 people are?" Hearing this, everyone fell into deep thought. That's right. Before Suyu left, he was brimming with confidence that he would surely be able to save Xueqi. Moreover, he had even warned them to consult the elders about this matter. Then, just as Suyu had expected, the ghost was born. Could it be that he had sensed everything in advance? Or could it be that Suyu had arranged everything? The 2 people who went missing seemed to be the divine masters who were inextricably linked to the Shao family. It was difficult for them to believe that their disappearance had nothing to do with Suyu, especially after Suyu had done such a strange thing. Which 2 people? Suyu asked, his eyes wide. Gongsun Wuxia giggled and said, "It's the 2 inner sanctum disciples who want to deal with Big Brother Yuxian. They are in the inner sanctum, and they are in the same camp as the Shao family. We all know that they came here to deal with you." "Oh, you mean them?" Su Yu came to a sudden realization, but he shook his head and said, I don't know. I've never seen it before. Maybe he's looking for treasures somewhere. The 4 demons found it hard to believe Su Yu's words, but they still couldn't prove that it was Su Yu who had killed the 2 of them. They exchanged glances and did not continue to pursue the matter. Otherwise, if they found out the truth, Su Yu would be in deep trouble. As an outer disciple, it wouldn't be enough even if he died 10 times over for causing the death of an inner disciple. Night fell, and the next morning came. Su Yuxian, follow this old man to pay your respects to the Manor Lord. Bai Yang suddenly arrived. Manor Lord Zhang had returned? Su Yu's heart skipped a beat. In that case, the palace master, Mo Tianxian, had come. Su Yu followed Bai Yang and quickly entered the elegant spirit manor, then went to meet Manor Master Zhang in a side palace. The 8 great elders, as well as the elders who had come to greet the palace lord, were all present in the hall. Mo Tianxian was the only one missing. The fact that Manor Master Zhang was seated at the head of the table was enough to prove that Mo Tianxian was not present. Could it be that she disdains to participate in such a small meeting? Su Yuxian, tell me everything from the discovery of the cave to the discovery of the ghost's hiding place, Manor Master Zhang asked solemnly. Su Yu explained everything to them one by one. Of course, most of it was just a compilation. After listening, the entire hall became solemn. Then, what about the white-haired youth? Tell me about him as well. Manor Master Zhang leaned forward and looked at Su Yu. He was even more concerned about him than if he had just discovered a ghost. Su Yu was slightly surprised, but he still dragged out the excuse he had prepared beforehand. In any case, no one would associate the powerful Su Yu with a white-haired old man like him. After he finished speaking, the crowd began to whisper among themselves. They were extremely curious about the mysterious, white-haired young man. Fine, you should go back and rest. Manor Master Zhang took a deep look at Su Yu. Su Yu nodded and left the hall as if nothing had happened. After he left, Bai Yang wore a pensive look as he asked, Manor Master, since the palace lord had some matters to attend to and left, then he didn't come to our elegant spirit manor. What should we do about this matter? It seemed like Manor Master Zhang was lost in his thoughts, and he was startled for a moment before he came back to his senses. Well, the palace lord's whereabouts are unknown, so we should suppress this matter for the time being. It won't be too late to discuss it after we get news of the palace lord's whereabouts. As for the white-haired youth, we should pay more attention to him. Well, the elders were all curious about this matter. It seemed like the white-haired youth, Su Yu, was more important than the ghost clan's matter in Manor Master Zhang's eyes. Manor Master, is the white-haired youth's status special? Bai Yang asked. Manor Master Zhang nodded solemnly. Although I can't be sure, we must still pay attention to him. According to the latest news, the Blood Emperor, the Bright Light Guard's first guard, was killed. Boom! It seemed like a myriad of thunderbolts had struck the elders, and they were all overwhelmed with shock. The Blood Emperor? One of the central prefecture's 10 great experts? That's impossible, apart from a prefecture's king, who would have the confidence to kill him. All of the elders were in disbelief. Manor Master Zhang said in a deep voice, I don't believe it either. However, the news came from the upper echelons of the inner sanctum. One of the upper echelons hiding in the central prefecture saw it with his own eyes. The Blood Emperor was chased for billions of miles and across countless cities. Many people witnessed it with their own eyes. Later on, the news of the Blood Emperor's death spread from the central prefecture. It seems to be true. Suddenly, the hall fell into a dead silence. All creations could be said to be at the pinnacle of the pyramid of the 9 prefectures. Those who could kill them were few and far between. As for the Blood Emperor, he was an expert among experts. His name had shaken the entire central prefecture. How could he have been chased to death? Villa Master, may I ask who did this? Bai Yang's heart trembled. The person who was able to hunt down the Blood Emperor must be a peerless and ruthless person in the 9 prefectures. Manor Master Zhang said, I don't know, but rumor has it that he is a white-haired youth who is covered in blood clouds. His weapon of choice is a bead, and it has smashed the Blood Emperor into meat paste many times. The white-haired youth bead. Su Yu's figure appeared in the minds of all the elders present. Could it be him? It was just that the disparity between their power was too great. This matter happened 2 months ago, but it was kept a secret. It's fine that you all know about it, but you mustn't spread it to anyone else. All right, the meeting is adjourned, Manor Master Zhang said. Bai Yang and the others shuddered upon hearing this. As Manor Master Zhang left, Bai Yang asked in surprise, Manor Master, there are still many matters that require your approval. Where are you going? An odd glint flickered in Manor Master Zhang's eyes as he turned his head around and instructed them expressionlessly. I have some private matters to take care of, so don't be impatient. After he spoke, he strode away. After Su Yu left the side palace, his expression became gloomy, and he quickly went back to his tent. Bing Wuxin, Xue Qi, and the others were cultivating quietly in the tent. Well, why did you come back so quickly? Bai Shanliang was surprised by this, so he stood up and said, That's fine. Today is the last day, so let's hurry up and go to excavate the mountain. I'm still waiting to recoup my losses. Gong's son Wuxie chuckled. That's right, Brother Yuxian. You owe me a ghost clan's magical treasure. However, a grave look appeared on Su Yu's face as he said in a deep voice, If we don't leave now, we will lose our lives. Let's quickly escape. The 5 people's hearts tightened when they heard him. Su Yu's current expression made them feel that something was amiss. Junior brother, what happened? Can you explain it clearly? Bai Shanliang's smile disappeared, and his expression became serious again. Bing Wuxin snorted. If you dare to play tricks on us, I will kill you with my sword. Brother Yuxian, quickly tell us. You are making me so nervous. Tianren Yao came over and spoke bashfully. It could be seen that they were all frightened by Su Yu's expression. Fright appeared in Su Yu's eyes as he said, We did manage to exterminate all of the ghosts, and there is still a malicious ghost hiding in the elegant Spirit Mountain. It's extremely dangerous, so we must quickly escape. There was still another malicious ghost? The 5 people's expressions became grave. They had personally witnessed the outcome of Bai Yang and the others attacking the ghost together. Even though the 5 of them had attacked a single person, they had still suffered a crushing defeat. If a young expert hadn't passed by, the 5 of them would have already become the ghost's food. Yet, Su Yu is now saying that there was still another one. All the more reason for us not to escape. Let's inform the manor immediately. It just so happens that Manor Lord Zhang has returned. With him around, we should be able to easily deal with an evil ghost of the same level as last time. Xue Qi was slightly surprised by this. After all, Su Yu had already thought of this, and fleeing was obviously the stupidest method. If he was targeted by a hidden malicious spirit, wouldn't he die even faster? However, Su Yu's face darkened. It is precisely because of his return that we need to escape immediately. Because he is the hidden malicious spirit. There are ghosts with painted skin as well. Su Yu's words exposed the heavenly secret. Xinga had just informed them of the shocking news. He had always thought that the ghostly aura that Xinga had sensed belonged to Jiuyin. However, when she met Villa Master Zhang just now, Xinga actually said that the aura was still there. Su Yu had already met the other elders alone, so Shenggu hadn't warned him. It was only when Manor Master Zhang returned that she immediately warned him. It was enough to explain everything. Su Yu then associated the grotto altar with a formation that could only be set up by all creation realm ghosts. This made him even more certain that Jiuyin was just one of the hidden, painted skins. The most terrifying painted skin was the Manor Master himself. He was the greatest ghost of all. In fact, he might even possess the power of an all-creation realm expert. If they didn't flee now, it would be too late. Bai Shanliang and the others didn't get the chance to be startled, as the space in their tent suddenly froze. Everyone was bound by the space and couldn't budge an inch. Spatial control. This is the all-creation realm's power. Shui Qi cried out involuntarily in shock. Swoosh! A cold wind blew over, and a middle-aged man, who had his hands clasped behind his back, appeared at the center of the tent like a ghost. He wore a warm smile on his face as he stood calmly in the middle of everyone. Hee, Su Yuxian, why did you ruin my plans? The man turned around, and it was obvious that this was Manor Master Zhang's face. However, his human eyes had already turned into a pair of flickering purple flames. His whole body was emitting an eerie, ghostly energy. Manor Master Zhang, no, you are a ghost. Bai Shanliang's gaze became grave as he spoke in surprise. The other people were also shocked. The elegant Spirit Manor's Manor Master, who was one of the Red Blood Palace's higher-ups, was unexpectedly a ghost wearing a human skin. This was completely beyond their expectations. This matter had taken a sudden turn for the worse, and it was difficult for them to accept it. Manor Master Zhang didn't pay attention to them, and he just looked at Su Yu with a faint smile. I like smart people, and if you are willing, I can turn you into a ghost, just like Jiuwen. You have already witnessed his power after he turned into a ghost. What do you think? Su Yu's gaze flickered. What if I refuse? Manor Master Zhang shook his head with a faint smile. You don't have the right to refuse, because if you do, you will die. He then added, but before you die, I really want to know how you managed to discover my identity. Manor Master Zhang examined Su Yu, and his gaze suddenly fell on Su Yu's wrist. His eyes then lit up as he said, Interesting. I can sense a wisp of my clansman's aura in your body. It seems like you have subdued one of my clansmen. It's no wonder that you were able to detect Jiu An's location and my identity.